this player I was talking to, they had already qualified for the world finals at the end of the year, right? They had already locked themselves in for the world finals, and then they didn't make it through. They didn't make it through the groups, like the partner group section, but they still had to play the showdown, even though they didn't need to go to the fall finals to be in the world finals. But then they still they just wanted to play the world finals. They didn't want to play the other events, but because they are a partner team, they had to play all those extra events. So it is kind of bad if you are a partner team who's good and you don't qualify here because you have to have an extra event at the showdown. Prof losing it, mate.
He just hears it everywhere. And I think it's going to take him a bit.
Can we use some other word? I can't.
Advance.
Progress.
Yeah,
progress. Yeah, ensure a spot. Yes.
Add some fun to your space with Xtrfy, designed in Sweden with focus on quality products built on experience. You're looking at Project 4, their 4th generation of products with super cool colorways to stand out, with matching sets to satisfy with a solid B4 bungee, lightweight ergonomic M4 mouse, the K4 keyboard is fantastic, all of which are performance focused, and finish it off with colorful GP4 mouse mats that are bold in design and smooth on the surface. The retro theme in particular has got the feels. Complete your setup with Xtrfy. No regrets guaranteed.
Hey buddy, let me show you how to fix that. Bitskins.com. Buy and sell skins instantly. Deposit and withdraw funds instantly with crypto or directly to your Visa card. Bitskins.com, the best skin marketplace.
Lucas, did you just pronounce wind as wind?
I don't know.
I'll let you off the hook.
Did I?
English second language. Like, I'll let you off the hook. I'm just curious.
Did
you just pronounce wind as wind?
I don't know. I got kind of stressed because like my key bindings wasn't working. So I might have.
Well, that's understandable. I'm just curious because Striker said, no, I just wanted to make sure we got to the bottom of this because guess what? We're back for HLTV Confirmed episode. I've lost count. Season, it doesn't even matter. We've been over that plenty of times before. The most important headline of the evening is Counter-Strike is back in bloody business. Last time round when you were tuned into our show, we were back in business. This time round, CSGO, Tier 1, RMRs, Blast, all the good stuff is back in action. I saw a Reddit thread today, and Prof, this one would have irked you to no end. It said, with the player break officially ending today, as of today, it's not today, and it's also not the player break, it's a tournament break. No. So it ended on Monday.
Yeah. Is there anything else that is wrong in the title, or only two things? Only two of the two things?
The entire post was just wrong. But it's okay. They tried. They gave it a crack.
But what is just what they were announcing? What is the...
I don't know. They just made a thread. I think they was like, oh, with the player break officially over today, something about Blast.
Here's a picture of me with Stewie 2K outside of IM Dallas.
Probably. Oh, we've had some really good. We've had
7,000 upvotes for that one.
We had a really good post about Stewie in our YouTube comments from last time. I hope that gentleman is watching again. We might even bring that comment up at some point and have a little bit of chit-chat.
I only saw the tweet from Steel in Valorant. Did you see that one?
No, what did he say?
It was pretty good. I don't know. Someone needs a player in Valorant apparently, and it was a joke about taking Stewie out for coffee to like figure out things if he's gonna fit.
I see.
It was, you know, a crossover reference.
All right, I'm gonna respect that. Well, I haven't done the sponsors yet, so let's get the housekeeping out of the way. And thank you to Tamar Sahab, who just tweeted at me literally 5 seconds ago. He said it's season 6, episode 25. So I won't thank you later. I'll thank you now. But we're here. We're back. We've got a couple of sponsors who make this show possible. Xtrfy, they've been here from the beginning. They're actually started sponsoring Heroic as well. So if you want to head over to their stuff, check it out. They've got mice, keyboards, all that good gear. Maybe if you're nice, they might put your name on a keyboard with a flag. That was always a cool little token to have with you. We also have Bitskins. If you want to get yourself any skins, head over there. Check out what they've got in the marketplace. Plenty of new stickers going around right now. If you caught that 10-year update, some nice ones in there. And obviously a lot of disappointed Counter-Strike fans. But Bitskins, they've probably got all those goodies. So don't hesitate to check them out if you're in the marketplace for some skins. And M1 Bet. Gamble responsibly. But I just have to hold up a moment here. Yes. What, Lucas?
And remember to use promo code HLTV.
Okay. Yes, but for a free bet of €5 when you register using the promo code HLTV.
Brilliant.
N1 bet.
Very smooth.
It wasn't as smooth as it needed to be. But
maybe that was all on purpose, actually, if anyone's watching, because now everyone's going to be like, oh my God, that was so bad. What did he actually say? Let's go back. Oh, it was that promo code. Amazing.
€5, free bet, N1 bet using the promo code HLTV. But this is the most paramount point. Gamble bloody responsibly. Okay, so that's all done. If you want to listen to us on all the audio-only options, this podcast got in before Anchor FM became dog shit, and actually still puts the podcast on all the different platforms. If you guys try and use Anchor FM now, it only goes to bloody Spotify because Spotify bought Anchor FM.
I noticed that, and I was curious where that was going. Amazing acquisition. This is how tech companies work nowadays.
But it's like, just go to the fucking Spotify thing.
Buy everything and destroy it because that's it.
They just ruining everything, ruining lives, ruining everything. Anyway, that's the sponsors done. And you also heard anchor.fm/HLTV. You can check all that out. The YouTube channel, we upload the VOD probably about 24 hours after. Lucas, Dimitri was requesting that you could post a link to do with the little vote that was going on to do with what map should be replaced in the pool, I believe it was. A bit of a straw poll going on. Maybe we can bring this up at the start and everybody can start have a little bit of a vote now. And then when we get to the Tuscan conversation a little bit later, we can have a look at what the people in chat have been saying. So if we get that, I can maybe post the link. There you go. You can see it. Dimitri spamming it. Thank you very much, Dimitri. Okay, this has been a bit of a topsy-turvy start. Striker's here and Prof's here. And for once, I have the best setup. Striker, where are you?
I am in Copenhagen. I'm not going to name the hotel, but I'm actually at the hotel where the players are staying. And so for Blast, obviously. So that's why my setup is a bit ghetto compared to normal anyway.
It's not as fun, right, when you have to do it on the fly. It's a bit stressy and tables and chairs and angles and laptops, but you got it working.
Actually, not really, because I just came into a room where there was a table, there was a chair. I already had my camera and my mic, so I just set it up and that's it. It actually took me like 5 minutes. GG.
Amazing.
Well, what he was meant to say was, yeah, it's fucking stressful, mate, but that's all right. It's easy. Now, Prof, I like your setup. I like the fact we can, the people at home can't, but I can see monitor to one side. I can see a laptop in front of you. I like this, the mic stand you have, the background this time around. I like what you've done with the place.
Look at this.
Do what?
I mean,
there you go.
Here now, but
a little bit.
It's like you're doing the
that
news,
was totally not on purpose, Lucas. We know.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, Lucas.
There's also a window behind here, so.
Oh my God.
I can't read.
That's a curtain.
Oh, but it actually reflects back. Now everyone can see like everything that was on my screen. Oh my God. No.
We weren't watching any.
I leaked all the secret codes.
So you're safe. Everybody's safe. Lucas is here. He's doing well, right, Lucas?
I'm alive and I'm happy to be alive.
Okay.
Remember when you bike, always use your
Controversial.
helmet.
Always use your helmet when you bike.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I heard you you had a bit of a crash.
I had to remind myself that the ground is hard.
The ground is hard. Very hard. Concrete especially. Yeah. The road also very hard. Look, there's people here in Malta. Malta's it's a bit crazy on the road out here. There's people who go, like, there's little scooters, the e-scooters, everyone's got them. People tandeming on those on these roads. Don't do that. Don't do it.
Probably
it's not
without
worth the risk
as well.
Definitely no helmets. It's not worth the risk. So, all right. Now
you know what they say, always wear protection.
Yes. Yeah.
If you're going to take one thing away from this show, let it be that.
You know what surprises me?
Dating
How-
expert is back in business.
But no, but seriously for a second, this is probably we should talk to the sponsorship little sector of HLTV. We should pursue condom sponsors, right? No, seriously, no.
No, go for it.
Like, hear me out about this. The demographic that we have, right, is like 16 to 35. That's the majority of like Counter-Strike fans, right? It's 16 to 35. That's the range. And like in that range, obviously people are having sex, right? So it would make sense that condoms, and you could also do some really good stuff with it, right? Like Counter-Strike stuff, like it's your armor, it's your protection, right? Well, you're not going to play around without any fucking armor, right? Exactly. And you could call it all these
I
fun
think it's
things.
even like in creation, it's like slang for condom, like helmet. So
yeah,
But-
there's so much cool stuff you could do with it. It would be genius.
But
Are you
Chad,
Why is no one doing it?
are Counter-Strike players having sex?
It doesn't
I was
matter.
gonna
You're
say
still
that.
going to buy a condom and you're going to whack it in your wallet just in case you are, right? You never know. And plus, have you ever heard of a posh wank before, Lucas?
What?
A posh
No.
wank.
What is this? Like an
Um,
Australian thing?
No,
I
it's not.
heard it from
It's
like
definitely international.
Definitely, like I heard it from like Henry and Alex first, right? But a posh wank is where you're gonna go take care of your business, but you whack a Jimmy on, so then you don't have to clean up the mess. It's all done for you.
A Jimmy is a condom for
Yes. Yeah,
translation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone
Yeah.
got that?
Yeah.
It's like
I don't know
usually
how we
what you
got to
usually
this.
do with a sock, but you don't want your mom to clean up after you, essentially.
Wow. Okay, this got dark real quick. Let's start the show, shall we, Lucas? Let's get into the recent news. Welcome back, and lots has happened. We are underway officially now. As we discussed at the top of the show, the tournament break ended on, well, it was Sunday night, Monday morning, as soon as that clock ticked on over. So as of the 15th, all the players were back. Well, they should have been back before that, but we're back officially ready for tournament play. And the first tournament is starting tomorrow, the 19th. And as you heard from Striker, he is there over at Blast reporting from the ground. So we're going to be bringing you all of that news here tonight. But we do have a couple of bits and bobs that we have to get through before we get to that good stuff. And one of them would be our N1 moment. Now, one of the keys, and not Alicia, with us being back here for Counter-Strike is the lead into the major, right? If you caught us with Kassad on the previous episode, Kassad had a lot of interesting things to say, definitely so. But we were kind of framing everything around the ramp up to the major, and the RMRs kicked off as soon as that break ended. And we've seen a lot of teams, play throughout that. But the one that showed up as the N1 moment here was the fact that Forest, Freiburg, and Get Right of the legendary NIP reunited now post, obviously, the Dignitas project. With the help of Jaquinho and
Lecro.
Yes, Lecro, who was playing exceptionally well. And they lost on Inferno. I was watching them play that game, and they didn't make it any further in that qualifier. But it was fun to watch, right? Good to see the boys back together. Good to watch them playing some Counter-Strike. Lecro and Forest were highlights for me to watch in that. They've also been doing a lot of streaming with Get Right? The three of them. So this is just a fun little moment for Counter-Strike fans of old, right, Prof?
Yeah, I was reading the comments still. Some great marketing ideas coming in. That's all I'm gonna say. But yeah, it's even if you don't watch any of the games, just seeing this title, seeing them playing together, it's amazing. It's just kind of heartwarming moment, especially because it's not coming together with some like giant words like it was last time. We're gonna win the major or anything. It's just like, yeah, we're all kind of free here. We have nothing to do for this day. Let's kind of play a tournament together. Let's try. Let's see what happens. So it's just very nice.
They probably should have won that game. They were playing versus Avantgarde as well. I think it was on Inferno, because they were the first half, they were like 11-4 up, and then I don't know. Anyway, it doesn't matter. They were just a bit of a mixed team. So that was a bit fun. But the key little detail here that we jump off from this, and I'll throw this one over to you, Striker, is the fact that Forrest, for the first time in his career, is a free agent. That's pretty exciting, really, when you think about it.
Yeah, I remember going back through that when Dignitas first announced that this team was going to be released. And because somebody brought it up in the news chat, it might have been, or something like that, to see if Forrest actually ever was without a contract. And I was looking through kind of like the dates, like when he left teams, and whether it was reasonable to assume that he just went from one organization to another, and there was no period in between where he was actually out of a contract and looking for jobs. This is dating back to like fucking 2005.
Yeah,
the last time that he was without a team for longer than maybe a few days or something like that. That is a crazy fucking retention in terms of a CS career. That probably is unmatched, honestly.
Yeah, I think this is the curious thing, right? Is the fact that he has been able to go that long, but it also shows like how consistent Forest has been on our screens as well, right?
Yeah.
Like the fact that he's just gone from like Fnatic into SK, and then obviously over with NIP into the early days of CSGO, and then since then, that's when the shift of Forest happened, right? Because maybe people don't really remember Forest from the 1.6 days. It's fair enough. You're probably young. Forrest never gave interviews or anything in 1.6, right? He was just like one of the
Very rare,
he was like the best player in the world, and that's what he did. He just played. And then now, like when you get to see Forrest streaming and stuff, it's like a different planet. It's like, holy shit, like this is the same guy, and you see him, he's doing the eyebrow thing, and he's a much bigger personality. It's great to see because he's such a nice guy. I don't think there's anybody in the world who would dislike Forrest, maybe other than the teams that he fucking mauled. But Forrest is just that guy, right? Who like
I don't think even they got upset.
Even
It's
they were
like,
like,
"Ah, he's so good."
Yeah.
Okay, that's it.
I love it. I love it. I love seeing the man up to his antics here. But I think a curious part of this is, Prof, like for Forrest, a guy who has, out of all professional Counter-Strike players still competing at the
Age bracket that he's in.
yeah, and I was gonna say sub top, right? Because Dignitas wasn't
Yeah.
obviously
Tier
on our
one, yeah.
radars a lot, but then the other names that might come into this would be like Hanaris with like Taz and Neo once upon a
Yeah.
time, right? Other than that, like it kind of is just Forrest with that level of experience, still playing at that level of Counter-Strike at that age group.
Yeah.
Is there an option for him, do you think, to find himself a team that would be competitive within the top 20? Like what do you think is out there for Forrest? Do you think the world's his oyster?
I think like borderline top 20 is, I think it is possible at least
Okay.
to try it out and see if it works out. I don't know. Definitely don't think like a top 10 team would be like a team aiming to win titles or aiming to win a major would pick him up. But like some of these international teams mixes that are pretty decent and have potential, like for example, I mean, I don't think it's the fit for Apex because they're already kind of an old team. But that kind of a team, instead of picking up one of, I don't know, like a Shocks, it could be a Forest, right? That I feel like he could fit into that kind of a team and still perform like to a decent level. I don't think he was a liability for Dignitas. So there is definitely, he's not just one of these players that's like old and a legend and kind of coasting. Like he actually performs consistently. So I definitely don't. I hope he finds a spot somewhere that he doesn't go into the streaming yet, because it's just great to see him continuously pushing the boundaries of like an older player that is good in the game still at clicking heads, right?
There's no natural team for him though. You're right. Like you look across this, unless you're like Mouse and you decide like, holy shit, like let's bust the bank out here and bring him in and maybe we can get that veterancy, right? But like I'm looking right now just through all the teams here, and it doesn't look like there's a natural fit for him at the moment. And it's also difficult for him to go to Swedish Counter-Strike because we've obviously got the project with JW and Flushing out over there with Eyeballs, which is cool to see those boys doing that. But I don't think there's something similar that Forrest could do, right?
Yeah.
It feels like it will have to be a bit
know,
more
it'd be
of
like
those-
super hilarious because in these, I don't know how the academy leagues work, because I feel like I think the role is just like one player above 24, and it's not capped at the top side. Imagine how hilarious it would be, like Forrest playing in an academy team with like 4 16-year-olds and him being like half of the age of the whole team himself.
It's possible though, right? So they could give it a crack. Yeah, give it a Vendetta, Halvor, hello, welcome. He's just said Forrest in for Plopsky. Any comments?
Interesting.
Like it's not obviously official, but like it's just a suggestion there.
I mean, it wouldn't be a downgrade. Let's just say that.
No. Okay. Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah. Well, I thought you'd go a little bit deeper there. You'd be like, yeah, let's do. You know, I thought there'd be a bit of excitement, but
it would make a level of sense just because of roles, because they've been kind of pushing Plopsky more into kind of like active roles, not quite entry type, very free flowing like Forrest is maybe, but I mean, I could see it work.
Could you imagine like the hype and headline behind that as well? Like Forrest joins that team, like holy shit, like that would be fucking sick. That'd actually be pretty cool. Just like,
imagine if like NIP go the reverse, and just like pick up all the fucking old people like one by one, just replacing their old team with like the legends and just like.
All right, let's not go that far.
Whatever.
Right, let's not go that far.
We've seen this happen with another team, so it's not like it's impossible.
We've been there before. I think let's see what NIP can do to impress us here. We know we love some of their moves. Now, I know that you're a massive fan, Prof, of Australian news websites and paywalls. So have you been able to cancel your subscription?
No, I haven't.
Jeez.
I can't even. This is This should be illegal. I'm pretty sure, like in the European Union, there are laws that protect people like me, the normal citizen,
Sure.
from abusive and malicious practices, like subscribing to a newspaper online, and then the only way to cancel that subscription being to call and not the international free phone line to Australia. That's going to cost more than the subscription alone, I'm pretty sure. And it's also like, we work until 6 p.m. in Australia, which is like, I wake up, it's already gone. So I need to call them like after the show tonight and see. And probably the phone number isn't going to even work for international callers. So I'll have to, like, I don't know, ask your cousin or something. And then they're going to call and they're going to be like, oh, please, can you give your credit card details? And I'll have to give like a sixth person my credit card so they can cancel it. It's going to be... Yeah, I'm honestly, I was really upset. So as you can see by my
You
tweet.
look at, yeah.
Have you ever considered though just staying subscribed and becoming an
I
Australian?
I have to say it's on the company card, so
Okay.
like I technically could just, but I'd have to like send in the invoice every time they charge, and that would be really annoying. Like imagine every
Just
week.
do it for the year, or can you upgrade your subscription? Go on and see if you can do like a yearly subscription.
Well,
Just-
that's a
I bet
possibility.
that's
Now we're
possible,
talking.
yeah.
People are
Now
saying
we're-
cancel the card. So the way to get out of this, look, I think we made it pretty. Wasn't it? Shouldn't you guys know that it's dodgy behavior down here? It was literally a prison colony. Like, come on, guys.
That's fair.
We're gonna route. Like, it's a rort. Huh? What, Lucas? What's going on?
I
Martin's in
think
chat, you
Martin just found out that it's on the company card.
Oh,
in
you
the
said
chat.
look in chat. Sorry, mate.
Well,
It's
it
moving
was
too
because it
quick in
was
my-
for business, because I needed to find out what was said about order being for sale. And that
And what was said about order being for sale? This is the perfect segue.
essentially they're bankrupt out of nowhere after raising $5 million Australian
AUD.
AUD like
Yep.
a year ago. So great times. There was also like some crazy number which I feel like was like $750,000 on the CS team in a year, which should translate to like 11K or
Salary.
between 10 and 15K.
11K AUD. Can I
Yeah.
just put that in perspective for everybody? 11,000 Australian dollars
Probably
a
like
month.
8 or
Less.
7,000 euros,
Yeah, yeah,
something
Yeah.
like that.
yeah. Something
Which
like that.
isn't too much. Isn't too much, I feel like. It's like a normal salary. And then on top of that, they did like win a lot of regional stuff and sometimes made money from that, sometimes not.
Yeah.
Overall, yeah, order out of money, which is shocking. They're also like publicly traded or something. And that's why some of these things happen unexpectedly for the people in the team, because they signed Vexite like 2 days ago. And then they're like, oh, we actually don't have any money. So obviously the people, the management of the team, the players had no idea until like the next day when this came forward. Really a really fucked up situation, honestly.
Yeah.
But hopefully like they can find someone to kind of take over. And what was said in the article that there are a dozen of in potential like investors trying to buy the brand. Like they have a great CSGO team, obviously, like for oceanic standards, and you have like a couple of other very successful rosters in different esports, and like they're doing like, I don't know, tournaments and stuff like that. So obviously big spenders, but also have like assets that are worthy of something.
Sure. I think one of the things that Gomez, he put out a tweet longer about it. He didn't really say a lot in it. Gomez, for those of you maybe not too familiar, he was the manager of Renegades and Vox Eminor. So back in the early days when I started, Chris was there with us, and he put out a tweet longer, basically saying that the Order has the best team in Australia in all the games that they compete in, I think it was, right? Which is maybe like 5 or 6 games. So if there is anybody in Australia who would want to invest, that's the thing. I don't know the landscape well enough. If they rebrand, like I think what would be genius if they're going to be on for if they're going to be on for a major slot, right? I think what would be smart is if Gomez could get like an investor or something behind it, or I think it was said they've gone into administration, right? Or if it gets bought by someone who's pretty wise, or Chris can advise them, they should bring back like the Vox Eminor name. And from that, just from the sticker money and loan, right, they're probably going to be able to, there'd be a bit of hype around that. People like those stickers before, so maybe they could, make a bit of extra cash off of something. That'd be interesting to see what's going to happen with it. I think the thing that's the most unfortunate is like a couple of teams have been leaving Australia over the last like 24 months, right? Like Direwolves are gone, and even like these orgs were
Chiefs
kind of
also kind of dissolved.
They were propped up by league first, right? Like the league stuff, and then when that got taken away from Australia as well, I think it's different in Australia now the way that the League of Legends stuff's work. Then that kind of hurt, and like Renegades pulled out of Australian Counter-Strike. I heard a rumor they were going to pull out of most Australian game stuff as well. So yeah, look. It is a pretty bad position, but I don't have the full story, right? In terms of, what happened with the org and all this. All we know is it's a fucking mess right now. So hopefully they can find something, right? An org, right?
Chad,
yeah.
Everybody's asking.
What?
Everybody's asking.
What are they asking?
Are you buying order? Are you gonna?
How much money do these people think I make?
Are you gonna invest your not hard-earned, easily earned
salary?
Salary, gold coins that you're paid in.
Yep.
Like 5 of your gold coins that you get for like one of these shows, and just invest and help Oceanic CS flourish once again.
Let me get on the phone with Gomez first before I say I'm going to put my life savings over to resurrecting Australia in Counter-Strike here. I still, it's a bit rough out here. Right now I've got my parents here, so I'm paying for them while they, all the meals, all the cabs. So I might be bankrupt by the time they leave in a couple of days. You never know. You never know. But no. Currently I have nothing like that in the cards. Prof, is that the answer you were looking for? You're gonna make a news article out of that?
We're gonna cut out that part. So
okay,
that's fine.
All right. Fair enough. Just
whatever you say from this point out is not going to go into the article on I don't know. Australia doesn't really have like clickbait people, so Snowball Esports is going to do it.
There you go.
They're going to say I'm probably going bankrupt. So
yeah.
I mean that's what you said.
Yeah. Look, I'm more. Look, so but seriously about it, I just want to make this clear before we get into too much conversation, because when we start talking about some of the nitty and the gritty of some of these changes. My parents have quite legitimately flown over from Australia to Malta. They landed on Sunday just gone, and first time I've seen them in 3 years. So I haven't really been keeping my ear to the ground to keep up to date. I tuned into some matches when I could, and I put it on the telly and tried to explain the Counter-Strike a little bit more to them when they've been here. And maybe my Australian is a little bit thicker for everybody on this episode, but I haven't been able to keep up. So I'm going to be putting most of the questions the way of you two, right? Because and I want to try and form my opinions off the answers that you two give. That's going to be very important. You guys better give me some good answers. I just haven't been able to keep up as much this time around. So, okay, that's it. Order's done. Let's keep on chipping forward.
What I hear from that is that we can easily manipulate you in this episode. So
people could easily manipulate me anyway. As I always said, I just read the headlines. So what are we talking about, man? Fucking. Okay. Where are we at here? That picture of me, by the way, who thought that was a good idea? I'm sitting there. I've got a mouthful of water. I'm looking at Maku. He's up there taking a photo. I'm going, hey, Maku, how you going, man? And I look like a fucking clown. Anyway.
Well, until you said that fact that you had water in your mouth, I didn't notice. But now that I notice it, it is probably, it's not.
People think my face is always that fat. Like, come on, guys.
It's kind of a chipmunky look, It's people like that. But you do have like fat cheeks. You're kind of cheeky boy.
But not like that. Like that. It's just fucking hell.
I think you know your face better than most other people.
That's
because
true.
It's your
You're
face.
Right.
You're not really all obsessed with your looks as you are, essentially.
That's fair enough, actually. Right? If you guys were, I would be a little bit concerned. There's definitely some people on the internet who are. They make some comments here, there, and everywhere.
Like, recently, people are just like, haha. You're losing hair.
Yeah.
Thank you for the. I would.
Oh,
no.
It's like, hey, SPUNJ.
What is going? Is this really happening? How?
It's not very friendly, is it?
Yeah,
I think they think they're helping. It's like, no, you're not helping. You're making things worse, guys. I don't want to do it anymore. Okay. I've lost track of everything right now. Where are we? Okay.
This is one of the most delirious episodes.
It's good though. I like being all over the place a little bit more.
Yeah,
Less monologue. It's all good. It's all good.
We don't have that much to talk about. So
press 1 in chat if you like the episode, and that's it.
And that's it. So you can only press 1.
We have better options than that. I will start a poll for you.
I mean, but the problem is you just need to give one option.
There you go. People are spamming 1.
So many ones.
Yeah, there you go. You see the ones. The ones are coming through. Bang, 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 bang.
So are we going into the next topic, or?
I'm currently reading the ones.
We're probably going to talk about the update, I think, at this point.
We are going to talk about the update. Do you want to go to the next topic? We can talk about it if you guys want.
The thing we kind of skipped. We said, like, fuck that.
We can leave it for playtime. For me, I wasn't necessarily interested in it. I know that Striker got on an internet argument about it, but other than that,
obviously wanted to talk about it, and then we got a call from an organization with the red logo, and they said, like, don't talk about this. So now we're not going to talk about this because we're not
you mean
allowed.
YouTube?
Yes, that is true.
Fuck.
And no, it's
Okay.
actually Bitskins and N1Bet, who are our sponsor. They said, like, this is going to be a boring topic.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. We don't want to talk about this shit. Okay. Where are we going into? Okay, so the update. So look, this update right here, I think a lot of people had much higher expectations for what was going to happen with the 10-year update. I think everybody was expecting, or not everybody, a large contingent were expecting like Source 2 to come out. I think people who were being a little bit more realistic about the situation probably were thinking there'd be an operation. We didn't get that either. We had the sticker capsule, which I think we all knew was coming. We had a nice little 10-year little cupcake birthday thing that you can unlock if you level up. And really, that's about it. Now, people are saying, oh, you know, should there be more? Should there be less? I think that people probably expect a lot from a video game. But we got some maps added to the pool in the wingman mode, in the matchmaking as well. And overall, it was just a okay, it's our birthday, the chickens are back, the balloons are back, and that's about it. So the talking points, did you think we were going to get more here, Striker? Did you think there would be a little bit more for the 10-year, or was this about what you thought?
No, I mean, I think I was just expecting, chickens with some sort of fucking birthday hats on their heads and whatever. I was expecting that kind of a level. Yeah, sure, they released new maps or like added new maps in the matchmaking. I think that's okay. In general, I think people who were expecting like some massive fucking gameplay update aren't really familiar with the term Valve time and them not really living up to their own deadlines most of the time. So I think for them to line up something huge for a 10-year anniversary is kind of unreasonable to expect, to be honest. Like they've always kind of done updates whenever it's possible, and not really announcing big any, or like living up to any sort of big deadlines, especially when it comes to CSGO. So I think that was a bit unrealistic.
Yeah, basically, I've had some comments in passing to me throughout a couple of the different events that I've followed, worked at, this year. And there was like some off the cuff remarks that made me think that if there was going to be Source 2, it would be later in the year. I don't even really remember the conversation or the comment, but I just remember that it left me with that feeling. Mm-hmm. And so I had the thought that it would probably be released either during or after the major, right? Because if they did it before, it would cause a lot of issues, right? And I don't know. Look, all I know is that there's been a lot of chit chat. There's definitely conversation between mappers at the moment. Maybe I'm reading between the lines incorrectly here. There's a lot of stuff on Reddit that people can look at, but I think it will happen, right? We're just at that point where it could really free us up for a lot of stuff in the future, but it's not right now, right? And that's okay, right? Good things take time, right? Good things take time. Let's just chill. Let's take a step at a time. We don't want it just to come in. The Source 2 confirmed sticker scrape says the 1st 11/2022. Wasn't that wrong? I think I saw that on Reddit, but I think someone just like edited that in as bullshit. Yeah, I actually have one of those stickers. I could probably, yeah, there you go. Thank you, Lucas. I thought it was fake. But yeah, I think here, the biggest takeaway, other than the fact that we didn't get Source 2, is the fact that in their blog, they said how much money was given away,
70 million, right?
70 million. And that's the last 12 months.
Sorry?
Yeah.
I actually missed that. What did you say?
Let me find it. I'm going to bring it up right now.
Yeah, there was a bit in the update notes. There was like, oh, everything's going great. We're growing. And then they just dropped the number, which is 70 million over the last 12 months in terms of crowdfunding. So like split in half, that would be 35.
Two majors. Okay.
I've got the passage here, right? So 10 years, it's a big number, yet CSGO is stronger than ever. Over the past 12 months alone, we've seen more players than ever before, averaging over 20 million monthly unique players, record viewership for majors, 2.7 million concurrent viewers, and massive community support with over 70 million raised for professional organizations, teams, and players. The future could not look brighter. That's the passage right here.
I think if you just like do super quick maths right now, that's 70 divided by 2, like 35 per major, 24 teams at the major. So every team earns a bit over $1 million, which is kind of what we were saying this whole time, that like a sticker, like a slot at the major, is essentially worth about $1 million, right? Of course, without the Valve cut. So maybe then Valve takes 50%. Then
Do
maybe
you
we're
think
gonna
that's
have
70
No,
million?
this
It doesn't
was
say for
70 million
Valve.
straight to teams, I think.
Yeah, it says raised for professional
straight to
organization,
teams.
teams,
Yeah,
and players.
I think that makes that is very, very, very close to the numbers that I've kind of gotten to myself while I was,
Yeah.
talking to certain people about how much, these teams might have earned.
Yep.
Like everybody has told me that basically, like, depending on status, it would be somewhere between 1 million and 2 million, for each team. And this is not counting in like the player stickers, which are quite a lot less in general. They're not that much money compared to the team stickers.
Yep.
So this number seems very, very much aligned with what I kind of thought
Yeah.
already in the past year or so, like since the soccer major, basically.
But these are crazy numbers, right? When you think
Yeah.
about it, and I think that people need to remember as well. This is not prize money, right? This is
No.
this is the difference between like TI that everybody wants and a CSGO major. Is these teams, if you support these teams, you can directly put money in their pockets as well as Valve's. But it's not like the best team gets the most, right? It could be the most popular team might end up getting some of the most, maybe not the most. But like I heard, I think I was watching Smuya when he was streaming the other day. He was doing some of the RMR games. And I was kind of taking my parents through Twitch, showing them all the different personalities. I was explaining to them the hot tub meta. I was going through everything.
Imagine explaining Smuya.
I was like, here's
to your
Smuya, right? And he was talking at the time, and he was saying something about either the FaZe or the NAVI guys, but he was talking about that new capsule they had, the championship capsule or whatever it is when you win, right?
Yeah.
And he made a comment about it, and I think the rough figure he said was like 250,000 per player for that capsule alone. That's
Yeah.
not including all the other stickers and everything, right? That was just that capsule.
Just the Navi one, right?
Yeah,
And
well, it was
the-
either the Navi
well, I
or the
guess-
FaZe one.
oh, FaZe one, yeah.
I forget which one. And look, I'm taking Smuya, so this is me quoting Smuya. But I think it was said something along the lines of 250,000 per player for that
Yeah.
single capsule. So it's a shitload of money.
Yeah.
But it's showing that Valve are still flirting with the ideas to kind of how to use these stickers, which I think is cool that they haven't just stagnated in how they do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's also kind of like it's actually something that I've tried to work on, but it was just very difficult to get any sort of very specific numbers. I always got ranges in terms of like what kind of money teams like Legends earned at Stockholm and stuff like that. I always wanted to put together an article that would show how people go, why doesn't CSGO have more prize money in majors? And like if you think about it, 70 million, right, over 2 majors. That's more than TI had last year, way more. TI had 40 million last year, and this is 70 million across two majors plus whatever 1 million and 2 million and prize money, or 3 million, I guess. Yeah. So like that's like obviously there's shitloads of money flying in Counter-Strike majors. Potentially even more than TI. I don't know what else goes into TI and stuff like that. If there is some sort of other stuff that teams get from like merchandising or whatever it is that has to do with TI, but like in general, like you can see how CS just has like a very comparable monetary value in the majors as TI has.
Sure. But this little snippet here, I think was this one that we covered off here was interesting for that fact that it's not often Valve give us that type of information, right? Like how often do they give that type of information?
That is our 10-year.
Yeah. Maybe that's the
transparency. One bit of transparency for you. See you in 10 years.
They actually did it for Berlin, and I'm trying to remember what that number was. It might have been like 20 million ish.
Okay.
Somewhere around that. I think I could be wrong at this point, but it was somewhere along the range of 15 to 30 million maybe.
Yeah.
So I don't exactly remember the number. Yeah, so they have said it before.
I think this is one way to like it really does a lot for the ecosystem, right? Because it's not just straight to the players, it's not just for the orgs. Like, and this is the same thing with the 10-year stickers, for example. That's for community figures who make art around Counter-Strike, mappers who get their maps in the game, make money around it and stuff. You think about all these things. Think about like all that money that they're going to all these different parties that Valve are putting out there. It's great, right? They're stimulating our community. We're sharing. It's basically what Counter-Strike was built on. Now, you've heard me preach that plenty of times before, but I mean, the early days of Counter-Strike was built on was a map called CPL Mill, and Tuscan has been added to the pool. Now, we had that poll up. We wanted you guys to be voting at home. to see, you know, I think it was which map you thought was going to get replaced. But I think it's very important here that we point out that not only Tuscan was added into the matchmaking pool, but Anubis as well as Breach. Now, this is like Breach V2. After Breach was in matchmaking, it went out and then they updated it. There's quite a few changes to that map. If you haven't played it, it's a bit of fun. And Anubis really hasn't gone through any changes, I don't believe. But all of these are community maps, which is very curious. This kind of, I think I read a similar sentiment as what I'm about to say on Reddit. I was thinking this. I just want to make sure that people don't think I'm stealing opinions. But the fact that they added 3 community maps and not like 1 Valve-made map and 2 community maps is actually quite curious to me. I'm interested to see what they do. If they wanted to add a new map to the pool, and these are the 3 that they were testing, maybe community playtime from matchmaking might be an influential factor on whether or not a certain map gets picked up into the competitive map pool or another. Right. So I think that's an interesting thing for people to keep in mind. And I would love it if you guys who are watching, if you play Counter-Strike, and maybe you don't have to play full matches. And I know that matchmaking is not for everybody because of 64 tick. I get all of that, guys. But I would recommend just going, yeah, exactly. Just go play some short matches. You're in and out in 20 minutes and just see what you think of the maps and give it a play before you sit there and go, this thing has too many angles, right? Because if I have to hear that fucking bullshit again,
you know,
I'm going to go off the deep end.
Harry actually sent a screenshot on Twitter.
What did he do? Where is it?
He pointed out angles.
Did he? What, 90-degree angles, 45-degree angles? What type of angles are we talking about here?
I don't know. There are some angles. There's a thread.
GG.
I put it in chat.
Yeah, put it in. I'm trying to search his name here.
I'm finding it.
Isn't it? It's Harry GG.
Just Harry.
Just Harry. Why do I think it's Harry? Why do I think it's Harry?
Here's a pro tip, actually, for everyone that uses Twitter and wants to be something in the community. Start your nickname on Twitter with your actual nickname. Otherwise, it's impossible to find you. Everyone that's on G2, impossible to find because like G2 Nexa or something, and I type Nexa, doesn't come out because Twitter's search is absolutely trash. So just start
not with G2 anymore. So
he is my favorite player of all time. So
this kind of seems like a bit of a meme here. Sorry to interrupt. Now that I'm looking at what Harry posted, he's put 4 arrows, and then Ben SEO's asked him to do the same for Inferno B site. And then he's put even more arrows. But this is the thing. This is the thing that fucking irks me to no end, is when I have to read people on the internet saying there's too many angles. Do you guys not understand how Counter-Strike works, right? We know that if we run from point A to point B as bad guy running at other bad guy, we're going to meet at said point. Okay, if we know we're going to meet at said point, what do we do next? Oh, we start implementing utility. Oh, we understand that as we take sites, it's systematic. We throw a Molotov here, we clear this angle, we take the space, we block off a choke point, we throw a flash. It's not just fucking run around and check every single corner, you daft fucks. Like, you haven't played the map. You don't understand the map. You don't know how to do a setup on Tuscan. You don't know how to run a T side. You didn't learn a basic smoke. You didn't flash for your fucking teammate. Don't say there's too many angles before you play the map. Learn it, you fucks.
I mean, looking at that picture, it feels very reasonable to me, to be honest.
It is fucking reasonable. We played the map in 1.6 and sourced competitively for years.
I mean, that was also one of the more simple maps, to be fair, like in general, just because you just didn't have that much to check, to be honest.
Oh, I don't know. I'm just imagining you not saying this into the camera, into the void, but like being in a room with Harry, and Harry's like sitting down, being like classic chill himself. He's just like, yeah, too many angles, and you going fully off at him. And he's like, Chad, what's wrong? Why are you so
upset? You also have to realize that CSGO is so different, and this map is actually not that different from like the 1.6 and stuff like that. In CSGO, you have fucking Molotovs that fucking clear, like hard clear angles, and you just don't have to care about them anymore. Like, you have so much more at your disposal in CSGO in terms of clearing angles and helping you. So,
but that's the thing. That's the trade-off, right? And actually, there are some wallbangs possible, because I was playing around on the map trying to learn the different wallbangs and stuff that are available. And if you actually sit there and learn them, like for example, if you're retaking A, like the first box closest towards mid for the CTs coming back through, you can actually wallbang through that and clear the guy on top of the box, and it does really good damage. Me and Rush were actually playing with it before, and I don't know if Harry is going to go. I don't know if Tuscan is going to go into the map pool. I don't know if Anubis is. I don't know if Breach is. I don't know if any of them are going to go into the map pool, right? But why don't we give them a chance and play them, right? And when I say we, I don't mean the pro players, because right now the pro players are focused on being the best Counter-Strike team in the world. They're not focused on testing the next map. This is where us, as the Counter-Strike community who don't play professionally, can actually try and get ahead of this And if you want to jump into matchmaking and you want to come up against my fucking 5-stack with Rush and Jay and Henry and everybody who's there, and we fucking geeked it out and we're doing boosts and we're doing dog shit, you can come play and we can actually learn some shit and not just run around like fucking headless chooks, right? Let's try and actually do something positive here instead of just saying this is good and this is bad. Let's actually like play the game and learn and do that before we just fucking just say shit is shit. Let's not do that. And Rush, if you listen to this podcast, you motherfucker, if I have to listen to you say you don't like Tuscan because it's not a new map, I'm leaving TeamSpeak. I'm never coming back. Just for Rush only.
Going for cigarettes.
Never coming back ever again. Anyway, so yeah, we don't know what's going to happen with these maps, but I'm excited. I like new maps. It gives me an opportunity to try new things and play Counter-Strike that isn't somebody jiggle peeking the same angle they've jiggle peeked for fucking 6 years. Like, or throwing the same smoke forever. Like, just because you know the timings ingrained does not mean that a new map being added to the pool is bad. We want variety. We want people to learn. We want people to innovate. We want people to use their Counter-Strike brain and not just think about, you know, fucking Mirage mid-window. Like, boys, give me something else in my life.
Yeah.
Fuck.
It's also that you can see how differently like maps play, and they just open a way for different play styles, and you kind of realize that that like a concept that you think of in one map can actually be used in another, and it just kind of like intertwines a lot in terms of when you get new maps on the board and stuff. Like, just for people, I mean, it's kind of difficult to remember for some probably, but like 8 years ago we got Overpass and Cobblestone. We only had 5 maps in the pool, and then we expanded into 7. This is like Cologne. This is before Cologne 2014, and so like since then obviously things have only gone better, because like teams have to be much better at more maps, and they have to be that like map pools actually matter, because before that they didn't really, because teams actually could play all 5 maps. So
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's a fair little angle right there. Couple of comments in chat that I really want to rage at right now.
What does
myself.
the poll look like that we put out? What did people say?
Oh
I'm
yeah,
trying-
do you have the results?
I mean, it's gotta be fucking
the
Vertigo first. No,
here.
Straw poll, yeah. Let's bring it up.
there's gotta be Vertigo. and
There's
Mirage.
obviously a big mistake here.
Oh.
There's obviously a big mistake. Someone hacked. Someone hacked the system.
It shows that the users actually have a brain.
I'm pretty sure.
Great to see.
Don Hatzi's goons had their fingers in this, because
He must
why
have,
would be
yeah, but
around?
he must have retweeted it or some shit. There's no way Mirage is first.
This is how it should be. This is exactly
People
how it should
probably
read.
read like, what is the best map, and then voted for Mirage.
This is how it look. No, I don't think Mirage would go, right? I think we've definitely had this conversation.
The thing is, like, they can
mean,
update Mirage without taking it out of the map pool. If they
True.
want to visually update it, why? That's not a reason to remove the map. Like, just work on it while it's in the pool. Overnight, you can update it.
Well, especially if
but
we're going
they
to
haven't
source
done
2,
that,
right?
though.
But if we're going to source 2,
Oh,
right,
right.
and later, whenever source 2 is, they're going to have to remake the maps anyway. They can't just port the maps. The maps have to be remade, right?
Yeah.
That's the whole thing here.
That's apparently
So
the
if
problem.
they have
then.
to remake the maps, then you could make some adjustments to Mirage like
Right.
quite easily, right? Like, look,
Yeah.
But I think, yeah, the Vertigo kind of hate makes sense. I think
but
that
Vertigo gets like a lot of propaganda push from commentators who don't play the map and understand, like, and just go, oh, he's spamming through a smoke. Like, that's another thing. It's like, you talk to teams who are like good at Vertigo and actually understand Vertigo, they're not going to sit there and go, it's just this map where you spam people through smokes. That's not the conversation there either. Like, it's just people. It's the same thing with people upset about, like me upset about Mirage. My reason is it's overplayed. It's been in the map pool the whole time. It's stale. I'd like to see something fresh.
Right.
Other people, like, they pick parts of gameplay that they personally don't like, and they go, this is bad because of this, right? Like, there are people who like the map because of this or this or this, and that's fair enough. Everybody, it's subjective. Everybody's going to have their own opinion on what they think is good and bad.
But it's
and
also
everything
interesting
like that.
because I feel like those two maps are on this different sides.
Yeah,
of,
100%.
Yeah, and they're like the most hated because they are so in one way or the other.
One is too much of a basic bitch, and the other one is too complicated, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but seriously, like the level of one-way geekiness on a map like Vertigo, when you think about, like, I can think about like Sinners and just like in one CT half over A, how many different one-way smokes they'd throw.
I mean,
and,
on B as well, there's so many of these, like,
and I don't love that.
boosts and all of these things that people, and like you throw a smoke, then you boost. It's like a defensive smoke, but now it's a offensive smoke because you found like 1 pixel to boost on, and it changes everything. So it's super giga geeky, but those make sense. And then Dust 2, which has been pretty boring overall, they tried to do so many things, but didn't really change overall what the map feels like. It's not bad, it's not the worst, but it's also not super exciting.
Yeah, Dust 2 is a weird one, right? Like, because that was Mirage, right? Like, I don't mean literally. What I mean is in origin, like in
Yeah, it was the
Source and in
most played
1.6,
map. Yeah,
yeah, Dust 2 was what Mirage is now. So it's just strange that Dust 2 didn't translate. And maybe that's similar with what you said before, Striker, but maybe on the opposite side of that spectrum. You said that like now we have Molotovs and Tuscan is very similar to the layout that it was previously. Well, Dust 2 is very similar to the layout it was previously. Maybe we'll have that common theme. Like once we do actually get good teams playing Tuscan, if we do, maybe it just won't fit. Like maybe it won't. But the only way that we will know that is if we actually try and play it. So maybe we can all do that in the future. Do we have anything else about the 10-year update we want to get stuck into? Because we have so much shit to talk about tonight.
We need to hurry up. I feel like we need to.
Okay, cool. We'll jump into the shuffle. We obviously had a long conversation about a lot of these changes. You guys put up a nice little article today, Lucas. If you could bring that up for everybody posting it right now. You guys put up an article today, which was just recapping. We talked about most of these before they were even official.
Yep.
Yeah.
A lot of them have been becoming official this week. Some of them had some nice content around it. They've been all most of the things that were rumored or sources or reported on ended up happening. So we can start at the top and we can probably go through this now. Out the gates with this article, NAVI is the top. So yeah, stop at NAVI here. Now we saw Simple put some stuff on social media. And we believe that Headtrix is coming to stand in for Simple at Blast. Now, we don't know the extent of this. We don't know if Simple's out for a long time. But it seems like a lot of people in the community think, oh, no, Simple's leaving. He's going to this. He's going to that. I don't really have that impression. And I think he's just, maybe out for a little while and then he'll come back soon. Like that's what I thought. Simple doesn't strike me as the type of guy, if there's something happening, there's a reason he can't be there. I think it's probably a very valid reason. I don't think he's just going to leave his team and the team doesn't do an announcement and then he goes and plays Valorant or something, right? He obviously well, I don't know. I assume he has something going on and I think he's going to join the team at a later date. What do you think about this, Striker?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they have to say something. If Simple is actually out, they have to say something either today or very early tomorrow because they're coming in for media tomorrow since they have the group the day after that.
Okay, so it's a bit staggered with arrivals.
Tomorrow we're obviously like I'm gonna be at the media day place and I'm gonna see who's there and who's not. So like at that point it's like the what's the expression? Whatever, it doesn't matter. At that point it's obviously clear who's playing and who's not playing. So I'm assuming they're gonna come out tonight and say something about it if it's true that Simple's actually out. I mean, it seems reasonable. Seems like credible disinformation. So I mean, it sounds like it's happening, but I just don't know for sure yet.
Sure.
Yeah, it's also important. Like we were going to talk about Blast later, but whatever. When we're at the topic, like the first week kind of doesn't really matter at all.
Yeah, we'll get into that format, but you are right.
So if he misses the first week, it's not really a big deal.
Yeah.
If there doesn't even have to be like the biggest thing in the world, maybe you have some paperwork to do or something. Rather do it now than later when the schedule gets super tight.
That's very key right there. Like for example, we all know the situation with Ukraine and Russia and the fact that they've been displaced for the entirety of the year, right? Because of this
Simple was talking about like he doesn't have like a space, like a permanent place to stay and all these things. So
he might be organizing a visa or an apartment, anything.
Yeah.
Anything.
And
people immediately go Simple's leaving, right? And that's because I think before the break he said he was thinking of having a break, right? Remember after was it last year or early this year he was talking about potentially going on like an extended break of some variety. I think we just have to wait and see. We don't want to get into too much wild speculation about this. Let's jump down the list here. The next little team on the list is Vitality. Now, the Spinx rumor came up pretty early, and then it happened. There wasn't any speed bumps here, Prof. This one has come together. Striker did an interview, and it looked like it was in 4K. What was your impression of the video quality, Prof? Were you happy with it?
It was really good, but apparently it wasn't in 4K. But next time it will be. Didn't it? So stay tuned for more videos from Copenhagen, from our amazing partnership there. Striker and Professeur are gonna be bringing content for like 2 weeks, of which like 4 days or 5 days gonna be nothing, just chilling. So also maybe if you want to meet up with Striker, maybe you want to buy him a beer or a coffee, maybe hit him up.
You going to go up and see Martin in
I'm
events, or what's going
setting him
on?
up
Actually, yeah.
for
Actually, we
dates
are.
on like HLTV forum users, essentially.
You're setting up with dates with HLTV forum users.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyone that wants a date with Striker, he open up a forum thread and hit me up. Yeah.
Okay, there you go. Start making your threads right now, guys, and
Like, give
probably
me
on
like
top
a
of that.
good like, give me a pitch. I need like an
There's got to
elevator
be a
pitch.
There's got to be a Tinder profile.
or that, yeah. Just give me the description, picture, all of these things, and then I'll filter it, and then we'll see what can happen.
Few little details. Okay, but this roster right now, we already spoke about the team.
I mean, there's not much that we spoke about it so many times. I feel like.
So we don't need to get stuck into
it's
this one
good.
too much. We can kind of just glaze over this, and we'll get to them in play very, very soon. But in the interview, Striker, that you had with him, was there any key takeaways? I know you asked him a question about making more money.
Yeah, that was a fun one. Every time I try something like that I know that it's not gonna yield anything, but it's still fun. You know, he said he doesn't want to talk about it, but you know, the way that he replied kind of made it look like yes. And to be fair, it is much bigger organization. Like, it's a very reasonable thing to assume that he would move to a bigger organization and get a bit more money, and you know, whatever, like that being an incitement as well. So yeah, that was fun. Apart from that, I mean, in general, I think nothing too crazy that was said in that interview. One of the things that kind of caught my eye was, you know, talking more back from what Apex said about the roles being perfect now, apparently. And Spinx did say that most of the roles he got are pretty much what he's comfortable with. That was a big takeaway for me. So it seems like it does. Either a lot of other people changed up around him, or he really does fit in terms of that. In general, I was kind of surprised how little he said about the actual reason why he moved, which almost made me feel like it is because
He
the money.
mentioned
But I don't
Zywoo,
want to,
right?
of course, but like the first thing that he mentioned was that Vitality has a Blast partnership, and I'm like, is that really the reason that comes to your mind?
That sounds
when
like
you
a
kind
PR
of like think
reason,
about,
right?
Yeah, that's the kind of like the feeling that I got when I was listening to him responding to that answer. But then, of course, like, I mean, he mentions Zywoo. That's obviously going to be a big reason for anybody to move into a team that is like one of the two best players of the past 3 years. So that makes perfect sense. And you know, a bunch of other experienced players alongside him. So I mean, it is a place a young guy would want to go. You know, it's pretty obvious. You know, so it's nothing groundbreaking that, at least.
Yeah, it was curious, right? He mentioned some good stuff about how he was friends with the ENCE guys, right? So maybe that's why he didn't want to come and say something like, "Yeah, like this is an upgrade, and I think this is the team that's going to take me to winning trophies and shit," right? Like, you can, but yeah, it's a curious one. Now, the next team on our little list here, as we scroll on down, is ENCE. Obviously, the team affected by this change, and were aggressive. They obviously brought in SunPayus and benched Hades here, and then brought in valde. Well, no, I haven't brought in valde officially yet, right? That's still waiting for that to happen.
Officially, yeah.
When do we expect this news? They can wait a little bit longer, right? Is it? Wait, aren't the
they
Pro
have
League
the problem is like
submitted?
Yeah, but I don't know what ENCE did exactly, because they actually somehow got around it, apparently, because the Pro League rosters are submitted and they're official, but the replacements aren't there. They just have the entire academy team alongside those 3 players that are obviously still on the team. So they have I think they have 10 players in, but like Saw is on among those, and then the entire academy team are part of it. I'm not sure exactly, but they actually don't have the 2 replacements submitted. So I'm curious about how they got around it, because everything suggests that they will just play at EPL with the 2 new players, but I just don't know how they're gonna make that happen.
Yeah, it's curious, right? Because normally like ESL are pretty strict on this stuff, but maybe that's something that's been changing over like recent years. But this one here, I think it's kind of interesting, right? Like to have valde come in to this team, because he brings like a lot of experience, but also he hasn't been playing in some time, and it's not like OG were great towards the end. Like this for valde is the chance for him to live that that potential, to fulfill that potential that I think we all thought was going to be possible with valde, because valde was always, oh yeah, he's the next guy to join Astralis if they need a player, and then it never happened, right? Yeah. So I'm interested to see, like, this is valde's chance to really make a name, well, make that name. And he's getting towards the tail end of his career as well, right? He's 27 now, so he's no longer a spring chicken anymore, Prof.
I feel like it's the make or break for him in his career. Not that he's ever been like super bad, but if he doesn't deliver in this team, then who is gonna look to pick him up next, right? Even now, it took a bit of time. He wasn't like super like hot on the market when OG kind of went to shit and he left So he really needs to prove himself again now to get back onto on track essentially, and to go towards like what is his dream, like winning the major or whatever, what he was talking about in the interview when he left OG, right? So I feel like there is like for the rest of the team, okay, Snappy is also an older guy, but he's an IGL and he's always going to have like a spot on a team, not always, but for some time. And the rest of the people are pretty young, so their careers are like going upward, and even if they fuck up and they have a bad year, they can bounce back. I feel for Valde, like there is no more chances. Like this is a chance to be like tier 1, to win trophies, to win tournaments.
Yeah, this opportunity wouldn't have been made possible if Vitality didn't go after Spinx, right? Like this wouldn't have come Valde's way. So it's the ENCE one is curious. I don't know how they're going to land, right? I really don't know. Like this is one of the more interesting ones to keep an eye on. It's like, well, can they recover? Because is it likely they're going to be like a top 3 team out the gates? I don't know.
I mean, probably not, just because of, Spinx was just such a massive player for them. Like he was so key in some of these big runs that they had, because he just had like games where he just took over and they got past like a big team, at one point. And, it was always that he came up with like some big performance that kind of like got them over the edge. So to lose a player like that, even if you're making an upgrade in the opping department and, not having like a really significant downgrade in the rifle department, it's just a different, it's a different setup all of a sudden. You don't have that X factor guy who's just gonna, take you over the edge all the time. I mean, the way I look at the Valde discussion is almost like, how he was in the discussion to replace Zipex and Astralis when they were thinking about their big changes. This is like a year ago, right? It's almost how I look at him now in this team, where he's just gonna be a really solid player for them, but not really the star, because that's just for other people to have. They have like the star trio, and Val is just going to be that solid piece, kind of like an anchor that is going to round it out together. But he's not going to be the player that changes everything, for them. I think he's just going to be a really solid piece that kind of like rounds it out, and that's pretty much it. I wouldn't expect him to suddenly, be this team's biggest star when they also have like, SunPayus and Diha, for example.
Okay, all right. Let's jump down to G2. They obviously announced their changes on Tuesday. They had a nice little content piece with that, which is just G2, as far as the Counter-Strike landscape goes, have to be the team who are the best at the content game and definitely portraying their identity, right? Like they're very self-aware. They're more than happy to make self-deprecating jokes. And I think that's something that the people at home appreciate, right? And obviously having Carlos leading that. So I just really like that piece. So big thumbs up to G2 for that.
Shout out to Austin, our friend over there.
Yes.
I mean, there's a lot of kind of back and forth between like confirmed and that, like references and stuff like that. He actually made the guy that is behind the video essentially made like a whole reference thread on like the G2 subreddit. So if people want to check it out, it's kind of cool. So
all right. Might have to check that one out. G2 subreddit. I didn't even know. I guess everybody has a fucking subreddit these days, don't they?
Of course. Yeah, everyone has a subreddit these days.
So
everybody has a Discord, a subreddit.
Fuck Discord. The additions were Hooksy and JKS, as we all know and love. But the one here that we discussed, and the one that still just continues to get like a lot of scrutiny, is this Hooksy decision, right, guys? Do we think it's going to be as bad as what the forums think?
I think if you're making such an obvious upgrade in the 4th player department, I think it's kind of like, it's almost like Hooksy can't be another fragger in this team. Like it's pretty much impossible. Like there's going to be so much pressure on him to be kind of like the supportive element of this team that it's kind of almost unreasonable to think he could even be like a solid fragger. So that's kind of like where I'm standing with this move. Like it's obviously going to be interesting to see how much of a weakness that's going to be and where they're going to put him. We've talked through the
how
stuff and stuff like that and how they're going to use him. It's interesting. Xtrfy actually talked about that in the interview that we did right after they did the announcement, the day after they did the announcement. Xtrfy actually did mention Hooksy being an entry, and it almost seemed like he talked about him as an entry in past tense, even though that wasn't necessarily the case. So it feels to me like he will be used that as, we're expecting him to, that he's going to be a little bit of a sacrificial lamb in some of these, especially in executes and stuff like that, but in just in general, So that's we've gotten a little bit of insight on that. Obviously, we're going to see them play in 2 days, so we're gonna that's where we're gonna see how exactly they've solved that.
We're going to talk about it more in a little minute here.
The quote being the fact that Hooksy is more of an entry and Hunter isn't the last lurker on every map is going to change things for us.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I guess JKS into more of that like last person alive role, and Hooksy into like the first guy in.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see, right? This we can discuss a little bit more in the Blast conversation that's coming up soon. The same with Liquid. We know they've got YEKINDAR again, but apparently YEKINDAR's listed for Pro League as well, right? So as we all and Steve made a tweet. Did we talk about that last time? Did we talk about Steve's tweet last time? I'm not sure if it was
I
made or
think
not.
it was after the show.
Okay.
I mean, I think it was between the shows.
Joker Steve made a tweet basically saying that they are trying to get YEKINDAR. That's the long and the short of it. You don't need any more.
I mean,
than that.
we all, but like they've already said it basically like 2 months ago, or like a month and a half ago during Cologne that they're trying to get him. So it's nothing new, but people just needed to hear it from the horse's mouth, I suppose.
And we love this one, right? Everyone's a big fan of this. Excited to see if we can resurrect some North American Counter-Strike. All right, moving now to Big. Keto coming in here for Tizian. Was that before or after last week's show?
I don't know. I think we talked about it a bit. I feel like
I think this makes sense, right? I really think like the thing is we've been discussing for me, my perspective on Big for the longest time has been sure they've got the strats and they've got the understanding and all this kind of stuff, but they don't have enough firepower. Like I just wanted to see them like stand and fight and bang a little bit more, right? But I think having Keto aligns more with that. Right, that's what that feels like to me. It feels like they're opting for firepower as opposed to the more supportive element of Tizian, and we will really get to see how much impact he was having in that role right now with this new constellation of the roster. Because this team was essentially running a 6-man roster just without calling it a 6-man roster, right? So I respect the fuck out of Big for that. Not making a song and a dance and a circus
not
out
really
of it
on purpose either. Like it was mostly because they were forced to do it. So
it's almost like previous attempts at 6-man rosters as well, but also cases of people being forced to do it.
Yeah, that's true. Never said anything bad about Astralis, though, of course. Movistar Riders, I don't think we have much to say here. Like
no, we don't have enough tape, right? We haven't seen what
there
the
is
change
tape.
is.
I hate when people say that, actually.
No, but with this roster.
No, okay, yeah, but there's not enough tape on like a tier 2 team that played like 700 games in the last year. There is tape.
There's a lot.
It's not against tier 1 teams. It's not on LAN, but there is tape. Yeah. There's a bunch you can look at and get like a decent idea. But yeah, I just
it didn't go well for them in the RMR.
Yeah, I don't know where they finished, but it didn't go.
They lost
to
deep. Some fairly random team. Fuck, I was in live post. I forgot who it was, but it was somebody not that. Was it the Aurora guys as well? No, maybe not. I'm not sure.
The Aurora guys. The carry-ons tweet was funny. I thought to beating Astralis.
I didn't see that. I think
he was tweeting about the sentiment was like to almost quitting Counter-Strike to beating Astralis, right? Like this is what Counter-Strike's about, something like that. But
I thought you said. Yeah, I thought you said Kerrigan. So
I said isn't it Carry On?
I think it's Chiron.
It's I-R.
Oh, I think Carry On because I think of the band Parkway Drive. I know that Carry On, the song, is spelled different. Anyway, the 6 people in chat might get that reference. Don't worry.
Yeah, it's a boomer reference.
It's not a Parkway Driver, not boomers.
Absolutely 90s, 2000s.
Fuck.
But
oh my god,
in the modern times, that is boomer chat. So
like the way Zoomers use the word boomer. That's
anyway, go ahead. Page someone to talk about this.
I called my parents. I called my parents boomers today, and they're like, "Yeah, well, we are actually baby boomers."
This is just fact.
Like, yeah, and
so what is next? Call us Australians.
Let's jump into the next team covering Flames here.
The Flames one we didn't talk about.
No, but we have one man standing by to talk about this exact roster, and his name is Lucas.
Oh no,
Lucas, tell us about your team.
I've they sold off all their good players and they started like from scratch again. And
okay, this is exciting. Great. We're following.
That's it.
And it's exciting. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, repeat the success of the previous team.
So I saw that on Twitter. The oh my god, don't put me on the spot like this. Like the CEO of Flames, he made a quick recap of all, like the previous players have gone to like Heroic and Fnatic and stuff, and it's just exciting, that
they called themselves the Ajax of CSGO, right?
Yeah.
The what?
It's a football team.
Yeah, it's the Dutch club that is like great for known for their academy, and they play in the Dutch league,
Okay.
obviously. So it's not the most competitive league, but they kind of develop players, and then they go to play in like the Spanish, British league, and all of these things.
Okay. All right. Well, let's give people an actual synopsis of this roster. Rouse was playing in Sprout, but before that, he was playing with Bird from Sky. Bird from Sky is to be the in-game leader of this team. They have TMB brought in, who has been like a prospect for Denmark for a couple years now.
Yeah. Also IGL at some point, but
yep. All their stats look terrible, right? I'm hoping like but when you think about that, if TMB was doing in-game leading, Rouse was doing in-game leading, and Bird from Sky was doing in-game leading, and they've all joined the same team, obviously now it's not going to be like that, right? They're not all going to be in-game leading. Burrup, we all remember him from the heroic days. TMB was playing for Mad Lion, so was Burrup for a little bit there, and then Regali. There's a lot of hype around this kid, obviously with the Fnatic stuff. But he speaks Danish.
Yeah, I think he lives in Denmark.
Yeah,
he lives in Odense, from what I know.
Well, he's around the corner from you.
Yeah,
get him on the phone, mate.
I can try yelling
for a bike ride
with
you or something.
You'll hear me. Regali! No.
he's probably playing right now, so probably got the headphones on. But this would be interesting if they can if Copenhagen Flames as an organization can rebuild a project like this and it can go on to be somewhat successful. Like this is great for them, right? They're just I'm curious with the money they got. They obviously did they have to buy out some of these players?
There was a trade, I think. The Rawls
Xiphon, yeah.
Rawls Xiphon was kind of a trade. Probably
good trade for Sprout.
Yeah, but also probably like contract lengths would probably be very different, I would expect.
Cool.
Like otherwise it doesn't make a lot of sense. I think we can just continue on to Sprout. I feel like Sprout made a pretty decent roster. Like
yes, I agree.
The biggest question mark is refresh on the IGL, but like all of these other players, pretty exciting. Like 3 very young, exciting for players in Xiphon, Lonks, and Stare. Slacks, okay. So I don't know. I think they did like out of these like sub-top teams, I think they did maybe the best job, even comparing them maybe to someone like Apex.
Yep.
I feel like Apex they made changes, but they weren't like maybe the best. Like they don't really feel like they did like a massive upgrade, right?
Yeah. I mean, if anything, like imagine if they got, because the All Pro Slacks is kind of like the last piece that you feel like should be improved on that team. And like, imagine if they got Hades, like that's actually a team full of like really decent players. Like,
cool.
And suddenly Sprout could be like like a contender for like a top 15,
top 10, even borderline.
Yeah, I was gonna say like maybe in a year, once they got these new young guys a little bit, a bit more experience, like this team eventually could actually be pretty solid.
I wonder how much
if
Berry
the IGL thing works anyway.
I was going to say, I wonder how much Berry has to do with this, though, right? Like in terms of the changes that are being made within the team. Because Berry, right? For those of you who don't know Berry, he's been doing this for a very, very, very long time. Even had the pleasure of competing against him once upon a time. But I think he's been quite instrumental here because some of the names they picked up, like they had Marix, who's now over there at OG. But when Marix and Stare played with this roster with Rouse and Spitty, Slacks in that Pro League season, Stare and Marix were like, oh, okay, there's something here. And then Marix left for whatever reason or whatever happened to that. But Stare was pretty damn good.
Stare has some insane stats, actually, yeah.
And then this like Xiphon, I think he gets slept on, right? Because Roy and Nikodos probably took most of the hype over there from the old Flames roster. And then if Refresh can get the support from Berry to in-game lead the same way Rouse did, I'm really excited to see that. And then this Lonks guy, he was in the mix for potentially getting picked up for ENCE or whatever. And he's only 17 years of age and he seems pretty exciting too.
If anything, probably would have been picked if they could have gotten him. Like it feels like Valde was like the 3rd option or something for ENCE.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is a pretty exciting team. So probably the team who, as you mentioned, came out on top of all these changes. Apex is the next one. We spoke about them. Stiko, Nork, Jacob, JL, and Shox in here. Shox won a pretty big clutch for them. It's going to be interesting to see Shox in this roster. We can continue to churn through this. Fnatic, this one here is quite curious. Crims, Mezzi, Nikodos, Roy, and Fasha. Fasher coming in from the Ecstatic team. He was their best player, I think, over at Ecstatic. This is interesting. It's still crazy to me that they didn't try and get Alexi out of like the grasps or the grips of Carlos from G2 and have him in game lead. Alexi hasn't landed anywhere. So he might have to wait until the next off season around Christmas time before he gets himself on a team, unless he goes into something Finnish. What do we think about Fnatic though? They didn't qualify. I'm kind of blending a lot of this conversation to RMR stuff. Should we just fuck it off and just get into the next next bit of chat?
We can kind of like. Then
most
we can
of
go
these teams
through the
we're going
RMR
to talk about, boys.
Yeah, I think
I
just trying to see like the team that I want to mention that we didn't talk about is Eternal Fire. Actually, very interesting.
Yeah,
because
Paz.
They got Paz and Major back back in, which is very interesting. They finally have an IGL and Major coming back from Valorant to play CS. I think it's if you can unleash Woxicans and Taurus, then you want to do that. And the fact that they were the two players that are IGLing probably didn't make too much sense to anyone. So finally we can see maybe them playing their own game. And who knows, maybe there is another like Space Soldiers run coming out from these guys. Like last major qualifier, like major cycle, they did okay, I would say. And this roster now makes a bit more sense. It's just the question is it going to work? Is it going to work?
I mean, this is 4/5 or even 5/6 of the old fucking Space
hard
Soldiers
style back
team.
as well, man.
It's almost too much of a reunion, man. It never works.
They've done they've gone too far back in time.
But they never had Woxicans and Taurus. There was always Woxic was never in the Space Soldiers, and he is the second best player, like or best player, depend on the timing or whatever you think. But they're the two best for sure.
Yeah, true.
It's interesting because it was always meant to be like Zentaras, Woxic, and Calyx. Like that was meant to be the trio, right? And then the Calyx situation obviously didn't work out. He got Jax. Yeah,
we can. I think we can.
Let's jump into the quiz, and then we can talk about this shit later. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's not really too much more to talk about here. Vexite to order, we spoke about it last time. It was either going to be Azra or Vexite. Yeah, fuck it. Let's jump into the quiz. We'll smash that out. We'll talk about the RMRs, where we'll talk about some of these teams anyway. People want us to talk about Device. We'll do that after Skinionaire, all right? Because it's not that there's any news. It's just that Hampus, he actually gave an interview. He
didn't actually say that much, to be fair. But
I wonder if he was allowed to say that. I wonder if they let him say that. Nah, probably not. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. The time is now.
No helping on this one.
Get excited. Situate yourself. Get excited for the light show here. It's Malta. You never know what's going to happen with the bloody power, but we know what's going to happen with Bitskins and who wants to be a Skinionaire. Type Bitskins in chat right now for your opportunity to go into the running to win a skin valued at 50 cents, $2.50, $7.50, $15, or $50, depending on how many our lucky contestant tonight, Striker, gets correct. Question number 1.
This is a lot of pressure because before... Oh, okay.
Who won the first EU minor held ahead of MLG Columbus? Was it A, Hellraisers, B, ENCE, or C, Heroic?
Hellraisers.
Locking in A, Hellraisers, 44 seconds on the clock. Answer locked in, and the correct answer is Hellraisers, strikeout 1 from 1.
It was a Sticko and Oscar team, so I would remember. It was Kucher, Sticko, Angel, Oscar.
0,
and LMBT, I guess. Yeah.
Damn. Okay. Question number 2. What was the last major event that featured minors? Berlin, Katowice, or Stockholm?
Katowice did for sure. I'm trying to remember about Berlin. Berlin did as well. Berlin.
Okay, locking in.
I think at least. I fucking hope so.
You want to lock it in?
Yeah, go
locking in A, Berlin. Correct answer is A, Berlin. 2 from 2. Hot to trot. Strike up. Smashing them now. We'll move swiftly on to the halfway mark. Question number 3. What was the prize pool for minor tournaments? 25,000, 50,000, or $100,000 dues?
50.
Look at this. He's quick out the gates here. 50 locked in. And the correct answer is 50. Bang on. I remember that because we lost to Mongols in the final. And
I just remember it was 20K for the winner. And I'm just like,
yeah, it meant nothing though, right? The prize money there was like fuck all.
It was never really that important in terms of like an actual tournament. You know, it's just a qualifier essentially.
Okay. Question number 4. Which team topped the EU RMR list ahead of PGL Stockholm? NIP, Vitality, or NAVI?
Huh.
So the event that they played for, I won't help him. I won't help
This
him.
was the one when they had points.
Yeah, I won't help him.
I mean, Vitality was somewhere high up there because they got the legend spot. But I'm trying to remember. For some reason, I'm thinking an IP, but it can't be. I think it's Vitality.
Why do you think it
I'll
can't
go
be?
with I'll go with Vitality. He's trying to throw me off. I think it's between Nip and Vitality, and I feel like it's Vitality. Go for Vitality.
Looking
I
in.
don't actually know 100% though.
B, Vitality, and the correct answer is A, NIP, who won IEM Winter 2021 in Stockholm with Device.
Was it fall, winter, or fall?
It was
Fall.
Fall.
Winter was the one at the end of the year.
Yeah.
You're correct. It was fall. But yeah, it was in Stockholm. Anyway, moving one step forward. Question 5. The best you get, ladies and gentlemen, is the $15 skin. It's not my birthday today, so I'm not feeling extra generous. 5th question, please, Lucas. Drum roll, please. How many Americas teams will qualify for IEM Rio? 4, 5, or 6?
6.
And the correct answer is
too
6.
many.
4 out of 5 correct from Striker here this evening. We'll draw a lucky winner. Some good questions tonight. You did a good job.
Did you
tonight,
like
Prof.
the theme? It was themed.
Yep, I did like
setting
it.
us up perfectly for the next topic of conversation, which is the qualifiers for the major.
It was good. I liked that. Did it just say pocket?
Chat.
Pocket one? Yes.
I know that you said it's not your birthday today.
Yeah.
But it's actually my birthday on Saturday. So
happy birthday.
I am gonna move it up to 50.
Oh. Okay.
And then Pocket.
Pocket. How long has Pocket been following the show for? Pocket has been following since November of 2021. So thank you for joining us, Pocket, on this adventure. And you can thank Lucas and his birthday.
This guy followed us during the major. Was this during the major or right after?
I'm not sure.
Kind of after the major.
Maybe Pocket, you can tell us, what you think of the show when we reach out to give you your skin. Congratulations and thank you to Striker. And now we're going to an ad break. Be right back.
The Xtrfy M42 RGB, what a fun mouse with 5 colorways, lightweight frame at just 59 grams with the swappable backplate to suit your grip style, the sensor, the easy core, the smooth skates, and driverless control for RGB and DPI is why you should check out the M42 RGB down below.
Buy and sell your skins now. Easy, fast, and safe. The best skin site. Credit card deposits and withdrawals, instant cash out methods. Get the best deals. Quick, simple, reliable. Bitskins.com.
Thank you for sticking with us, is where I was meant to go with that. Wicked. We got a record player
here.
Thank you for sticking with us. It is my job to talk. People do give me money for opening my mouth. You would have never thought about it, but apparently you do. So we were going to talk about Device. I said we'd talk about Device. Striker, you said they didn't really say a lot in the interview. Would you like to tell us what they did say?
I would have to actually. I mean, it's translated through Swedish, so obviously I don't get like the full picture. But he said something along the lines of thinking this team will play in Rio, and that all of these players want to stay. He didn't specifically say, "Oh, Device is not going to play or is never coming back" or anything like that definitive. But he kind of like insinuated that this is kind of the team that we are expecting in the near future. And at the same time, like I also don't think that he's the one to decide whether or not Device will actually play.
Sure.
We've seen that in the past, that this hasn't really been the case, that the players always know what's going to happen in the next couple of events. So take that with a grain of salt.
To be honest, this sounds exactly like the quote he gave us like 3 months ago, or it was during the major or Katowice or something. He was like, I just want this. When Brolin joined, he was like, yeah, this is the roster I want to play with moving forward. I feel like this is like literally the same quote, just like a bit repurposed. So not really that much news. There's no news. I think alongside that, there was the lineup that was submitted for EPL, which didn't have device on either. So there's extra no reason to be excited. Although there is the ENCE thing, if ENCE can submit a roster that's not the roster, then maybe NIP can as well. So that's more or less it. That's the device rumor update.
Yeah,
I mean,
going
just to actually, I went
as
into
usual.
I went into the article just to kind of quote it at least and translate it from Swedish through Google. There's like a it feels like we never really knew who to play with when device has disappeared and things like that. So we never got any stability, but now we get to drive with the same team and everyone is here and happy. And then later on he says, this is the team we have now and I hope it stays that way. So like you can take what you want to hear from that, but it's not necessarily saying anything that definitive, if you look at it
very
word by word.
The most interesting part is that he uses the term disappeared, also Google Translate, so maybe kind of out of context, but it's kind of funny. Funny term.
Yeah.
All right. Well, as my mum says, no news is good news. So
has someone done the math to like see how much device cost NIP for the few matches they had him in?
I mean, it's probably in somewhere in the 100,000 per map or something. Area.
How many maps did he end up playing with?
I don't know.
He must have played a bunch.
I mean, he played a
50
decent amount. To be fair,
sure.
yeah, he played probably somewhere between 50 and 100.
Yeah, that's all right.
But that's still maybe a few tens of thousands per map.
Just the buyout, not the salary.
Yeah, without the salary.
True. Yeah, look, it's been an interesting time, the whole device situation. I don't know if we'll ever get to the bottom of the saga. Maybe he can come out and do a tell-all one day, but I don't think we're ever going to be too privy to any of that. Okay, let's keep on trucking. We're going to talk about the RMRs. Now, where is this thing that I sent? I want to read this out.
Honestly, like people in the chat are very upset. I didn't really think.
Hello?
What are they upset about? Well, Striker has some friends. Who's visiting Striker? Is it hotel staff? Oh, look
I think
at
it's
him.
I think it's
all
all
good.
for Blast.
I can't hear him. Who was it?
Like,
No. It was a couple of guys from I don't know. They just dropped something off here. They're going away now.
They're chill.
they can't go away.
If they got some problems, put
Please
them on.
go away.
No, all good.
Shoot.
I think they didn't realize anybody was.
No,
I
I disappointed people about the device section. It's like it's just.
What
an
do they want us
update
to
on
say?
It's like I don't know. Did people actually think they were going to break some new news on the show? It's like some like crazy announcement, just like this. Like you're just going to talk about what happened, recapping. This is literally all we do on the show. It's like there's one episode when we unveiled Kuben as the coach of Mad Lions. That was like the biggest announcement. We don't really do announcements on the show. Announcements happen, and then we talk about them. Things happen, news, tweets, people say stuff. They open their mouths. They type their fingers on keyboards, and then we talk about that.
I want to get something straight for everybody, right? Bunnyman 19720. Can you reach out to get device on the show? It's an interesting question, Mr. Bunnyman. But with questions like that, first of all, NIP as an organization don't really like us. That's the truth. And you would be very hard pressed to expect Device, who hasn't given an interview since he's stepped down from actively playing, to come on our show to give an interview. So
didn't give an interview. He literally hasn't said anything.
Yeah. Haven't heard boo from a goose. So I think it's very unlikely. And I do like that everybody loves, they go, oh, let's get this player on. And we would love to have the suggestions that you guys have, guys, right? We can't make these players come on the show. The best we can ask and see if we can make it work with the schedule. And we do always try and provide stuff that's interesting to you. So just know that it's not for lack of trying or lack of wanting. It's just from lack of availability. Same with like when I saw some comments around some ESL skits of people being like, oh, it would have been funny if they had this guy here. Same thing with that. Like some players just don't want to do it, right? So you have to keep in mind that this is at the end of the day essentially their decision, right? Okay. So where were we at here? We were going to be talking. Oh, I was bringing up this little thing. So the RMRs kicked off on Monday, right? Straight out the break, straight into some ESEA fueled action, and there were a lot of issues, right? There was delays. There was obviously a lot of teams signed up, but my favorite one was reading about what happened with the South American qualifier. I think I linked you guys this little back and forth from the Reddits. And I actually took a screenshot of it because it really put a smile on my face. So an ESEA staff member, and I'm going to read this. I'm going to quote this.
You know what that's called in German, right?
What?
Schadenfreude.
Oh yeah. Look, this is just a classic self-own right here, and it's showing that somebody didn't take into account the broader Counter-Strike landscape, which is basically inexcusable. But let me read this. Okay, so the ESEA staff member on Reddit, in reply to one of these threads about the issues in South America, there are not 14 servers available. We have around 45 game servers ready for this qualifier, which we planned based on previous signups to other events. For example, EPL Conference had around 50 teams participate. Valencia had around 40 teams participate in the region. As a result, we plan to double capacity in Sao Paulo to prepare for an increased demand. However, we have seen even more teams participate than we originally anticipated, and are currently exploring how we can scale up further to support more matches simultaneously. A reply from a Reddit user called Tuxmux says, genuine question, how does this turn out compared to previous major qualifiers? Like, a major qualifier is usually double the amount of signups compared to other qualifiers around the same time. Also, do you factor in more BR teams would want to sign up because the major is in Rio? Is that a phenomenon that happens in other countries that host majors, i.e. more Swedish teams signed up for the major in Stockholm, etc.? Reply from the Hempy. South American qualifier for Antwerp got as high as 493 teams.
And they expected how much?
That's about 10 times as much.
They had around 50 teams participate in the EPL conference qualifier and 40 for Valencia, so they doubled the capacity.
Well,
and they
seems like the major is
the double
more
capacity.
The major is more than double in importance from DreamHack Valencia. So
who would have thunk it? Who would have thunk it, right?
Interesting developments.
So look, this is funny for me because this is a oversight from ESEA. Now keep in mind that the EFG, which is the ESL FACEIT group, which is the combination of these companies, now own both ESEA and FACEIT, and still opted, for whatever reason, to use their mismanaged platform that they literally ran into the ground and lost to FACEIT as far as the competition went in the last 4 years, and opted to run it on that platform without doing their due diligence on what happened in the previous qualifier. It doesn't get funnier than this for me, guys. This right here is like when I watch comedy. I watch, like, you watch Ricky Gervais or Dave Chappelle, or you watch any of these guys. This right here is that for me. Like, this stuff, when I wake up and I read this shit, I just have to laugh hysterically.
It's also kind of a car crash scenario because it's not good for people involved, but you just can't look away. People are suffering, Chad. The Brazilian, the South American community had to go through an awful qualifier. Everyone
that was a horrible fucking qualifier.
The European one was also pretty bad, but there was much worse. And now you're there laughing. You're making a joke out of their pain and their misery.
Well, I'm not laughing at them. I'm not even laughing with them because I'm sure they're not laughing. I'm laughing at how this is possible when the company owns both ESEA and FACEIT.
But honestly,
two biggest platforms for this in the world.
Honestly, you are thinking of this very logically and rationally. It's like, we have these two products. Which are we going to use? Is this one better or is this one better? But you're not taking into account a thing called like corporate politics. Imagine how much influence like ESEA has with the ESL people that are organizing this. Probably more than the FaZe people that joined like 6 months ago or actually didn't really join yet, and everything's kind of murky. Who are they going to talk to? Probably the people that they already know that they worked with. It kind of makes sense. And I feel like in this merger, actually, when they start merging things, there's going to be a lot of friction like this. It's not going to be just like, this is obvious. This makes sense. We'll just do this. Things don't happen like that, I feel like, in their actual real world.
They did kind of rectify the issue a little bit, right? So for the next South American qualifier, they have actually moved it over to FaZe for South America. And they also fixed the issue with, was it Pakistan? I think Pakistan was unable to play in the Middle East qualifier.
Yeah.
They were grouped incorrectly, but that's been rectified as well. So for the first one, sure, it's pretty rough. First tournament out of the break, it feels pretty rough. But the issues have been resolved. But for me, it's just funny that there were issues in the first place. Like
you know what I hate about it the most? Not even the fact that you look, if you don't check last major, it's fucking terrible, and I really can't fucking defend that in any way. Like, how do you not think to check the latest, qualifiers to the fucking major? There's always the most popular, obviously, for obvious reasons, So there's that's just inexcusable, right? But how the fuck do you go to seeing how many teams are fucking signed up for this qualifier while it's still going on? Because there's no way all of these like 450 teams on top of them signed up in the last day or whatever. Like these, I didn't actually check the numbers while the signups were going, but they were going for like 3 weeks or something. I want to say, I think they were announced like early in the break or something like that, right? And launched at the same time, and so they were signing up for like, let's say 3 weeks. And after 2 weeks, there's no way there weren't at least a few hundred teams, like, or whatever. Like, there's just no way so many teams signed up so late that they just didn't notice that all of a sudden, there's not 100 teams that were expecting, or 150, or how many slots they had. 100, you said 50 servers, right? So, and there's 400 instead of that, or whatever the actual number was. Like, how do you not notice that? Like, once you see the actual signups, like, that's just unbelievable to me.
Yeah, it's a little bit fun.
Honestly, like these qualifiers usually are super hype and nice, enjoyable. I mean, wholesome to some degree because everyone's involved, even though they're cutthroat as well. So it's like disappointing moments. But in general, you see like the top players are like involved. They're tweeting about it. Everyone's streaming. Everything's like, it's kind of hype. You have the live poll. Other people are doing. Everyone's doing something. Twitter is fucking exploding. Everyone's talking about, I won this game. Like, things are happening. But this time it was kind of ruined by the overall experience of ESEA, essentially.
But the thing is, these have been a mess in the past. This is just out of the break and straight into this. And I hold ESL to a very high standard because it's the company that I like to work for. So maybe I shouldn't. Not like to work for, just hold them to a high standard. But for me, this one here, it's just I don't know, man. I don't know. Anyway, where were we going with this? We were going to jump into the
results.
Yes, which is quite important. And there's actually a lovely little article. So you guys taking care of. I can't imagine how much of a pain it must have been trying to get on ESEA to look at the brackets and shit while this was all going on. The website was just tanking. Oh man. Fuck that. People, this is next week. I'm gonna look to maybe stream some of the games.
Let's go.
When they're on. My parents are leaving on Monday, so I'm gonna
we could even do like a confirmed thing out of it if we really wanted to. Like, we can spitball later, but like, I feel like this is kind of like that's what Prof was saying, right? Like, these qualifiers are such a community thing. And like, there's just fucking thousands of people that are involved in them, basically, like from the actual players to people who are following them, a lot of fans. Like, there's so many teams that there are so many fans involved, even though a lot of these teams are just small. But because like, you gather 100 people come out communities, and suddenly, like, it's a huge tournament essentially. So like, it's kind of cool to follow along, and just like to also go and a little bit do back and forth with streamers who are actually like kind of almost doing a service to the community, because like a lot of these don't really get much from it. They just do it because they want to, or they're trying to get started and stuff like that. So there's just it's just a super wholesome thing always, to especially the major ones, because they're just so huge.
Yeah, I'm down to do something. I think I was gonna do what I always do, which is get poor Rushley to come and observe for me, and I was maybe getting Henry to come jump on the mic with me, and we can roll back the years a little bit. So we can do some stuff. We can do whatever. I think it could be a bit of fun around it all. But we need to talk about these results. Now, you guys put up an article, first set of teams from EU and NA qualify for the RMRs. Now, we already had a bunch of teams who were in the RMRs, right? Those were the teams who were in the deeper stages of the previous major. But the teams that we've had join them, this is where it really starts to get very interesting, right? Like, some of these names who qualified for the RMR is really Like, this is where it gets super cutthroat. Number one is like, whatever. Who cares that Astralis lost, right? Maybe the Danes, right? They're a bit upset, but you're not thinking Astralis won't make it in qualifiers 2, 3, or 4. You're thinking they will make it, right? But when you get to qualify 4, and like, let's say Astralis still haven't made it, that right there is when it gets fucking intense as shit. Like, imagine the pressure in all those matches. It's like, wait, we're not even going to make it through the open qualifier into that's insane. Like, that right there is fucking mental. And like, some of the teams, we spoke about Movistar, we spoke about Astralis. Some of these teams who got upset on these runs are in best of ones. I understand it's online. I understand it's just out of the break. But this just shows you like the nature of this. And I say this all the time. At some point, right, you have to have the format like this. It has to be best. You can literally not for every single, like, let's have the open. Imagine if we had the opening rounds of the RMR's best of threes.
Best of 3 double elimination from the start. That would be ridiculous.
Some of the games were 16-0s. Some of those opening matches were 16.
It's more like most of these games almost. Like every time it was like the known names, it was basically almost always like 16-0 to 16-3.
Because it's seeded. You literally get like Astralis playing against me. So if it's not a 16-1,
actually, hold up a second. I just want to say this before I lose it. At least the RMRs, the teams were not seeded based off of their face at ELO.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's just one thing I wanted to get out there. Anyway, sorry, Prof. Back on track.
Yeah, just want to say, like, the first couple of games are probably going to be stomps. So.
Yeah. Which is what you're expecting, right? That's what we're expecting from these type of situations. Now, which thread am I looking for here? Because I was watching in the early morning, because when I go out for a swim with the fam and then I come back and we can't go out in the middle of the day here in Malta because it's 45 fucking degrees or something ridiculous, right? So we're gonna melt. But I watched some like IHC games. I watched some Tyloo games. Tyloo didn't qualify in the first Chinese set. They have to try again. It was Lin Vision and Rare Atom. Then you had NKT, which is the team with like Zine, Urcast. It's a bit more of the mix. I think they added 9, who was the AllPro of IHC before, replaced by Annihilation. Then in the Australian side of things, Order, who are probably no longer going to be Order, who just added Vexite, made it alongside Roosters. Roosters is a strange one because like you have other teams like Encore. Who's the other name that we're missing here in the mix of the competitive? I think maybe it is just these two. Vertex, but
Vertex,
Vexite left that team, and he was probably their best player. And then the Middle East qualifier, who are teams like 666 and
just leave it.
I don't know how to say that. That's the Asian side. The European side. I'm trying to find this fucking link. I should have had
teams that qualified are Mouse, Sprout, Aurora, Falcons, and then OG in 5th spot.
Okay, because there was a couple of upsets there, right? Because obviously we had this whole seeding situation. There was still a couple of upsets in that run. I think it's good for Mouse to hit the ground running right off of the back of the Cologne hype. If they had come in and maybe a little bit flat early, that might have sucked. Aurora was that team that I called him Carry On, but Chiron. Delusion, Sugar. Me and Alex were casting at the RMRs of the last major for Antwerp. I remember because we were doing like some of their games on Ancient. I'm pretty sure. Lucky is his new home.
It was like ASG, you know. It was like the old.
Yes,
fucking,
you got all the good games at the RMR.
Yeah. Oh, it was me and Dinko. It wasn't me and Alex. That's right. Me and Dinko were in the mornings. That's right. Yeah. We had a great time.
Bangers. These bangers. I remember this very fondly.
And Railway. That was their team. So they're the biggest surprise so far out of the lot. But OG getting in, Sprout getting in, like that's all good news. And that's what I'm saying. Like those teams we missed so far, like Movistar, Astralis, etc., Copenhagen Flames, etc. They're going to qualify we assume they're going to qualify in the next one.
I mean, OG is still looking for their first major appearance, right? They only have the sticker from the RMRs from the COVID era. So that's big for them to go in through the first one. But they did that last time as well. And then they kind of crashed out at the RMR, really disappointed. So overall, pretty good teams. Like I'm happy to see Sprout go through based on what we talked earlier about them. Kind of a promising team. Falcons as well. So NBK is there. He's back on LAN essentially. Some great.
Didn't they get a win over OG though?
Falcons
didn't Falcons get a win over OG?
Yeah,
that must have felt so
NBK
good
is great playing against his old teams. He's fucking amazing. Even though there's no one from his old team there anymore.
Oh, that's true.
That's actually true.
That's not as fun.
They reset, but even like playing against Vitality, I remember when he was in Mouse, he had a great game.
Wait a second.
When Katowice?
Is there anybody from the original OG roster that MBK got replaced from playing at the moment? Mantu, no. Alexi, no.
No.
Valde out.
Valde out.
Is out. Yeah.
Holy shit.
What
a difference a couple of years can make.
I mean, they changed 4 players this year alone, like these last 6 months or whatever it is.
I don't even mean in OG. I just mean in general. Like none of those names we listed are playing.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
I mean,
Like,
Valde
at all.
probably will, based on the reports, but currently no.
Who will? Valde.
Valde.
Yeah. That's Masuda played well though. I don't know if you guys watched. I watched one map and he played well.
I didn't see that.
So
that's how it works.
Need a bit more of a sample size on that one, I think. And then over there we had the South American action and the North American action. The most curious one was to me was EG didn't compete.
Yeah, I mean that was because of because they were in Europe practicing and they just didn't want to. I think they just couldn't play in the first one, then get to Europe in time to get like a normal, I guess, practice in time for Blast or something like that. I think that had to do with the travel.
But when's the second North American one?
Must be super late. It's after Blast.
Oh,
it's basically like they're playing the second and third. I think it's second and third after Blast because I think it might have been because of EG actually.
Yeah, so if you guys are wondering why, like maybe is EG in like an early or a late pro league group? I forgot which one. I think it was a late pro league group. Yeah, it's the last one. Yeah. So if you guys were maybe wondering on why EG are in the last pro league group,
probably why.
You can probably connect a couple of the dots there and work it out because they need to get home for that RMR qualifier. So that's going to be an interesting one there. 00 Nation qualified. They were playing against Phelps' new team. That was late. Was that this morning? Was that last? Dude, all my days are blurring into one.
I woke up and it was still going. Yeah,
that's right. Versus Fluxo.
Fuck, man, it was rough. I woke up in the morning and I saw the news hasn't been posted, and I'm like, did somebody fucking forget about it? Because like I knew we were just planning on it and just somebody posting about it, and then I see matches on top on my phone, and it's fucking third map 11-4 or something at 4:30 in the morning for them or something, or 4 in the morning for Brazil. I'm like, holy fuck. Poor guys, man.
They've had some late ones. They've definitely had some late ones. Like, could you imagine you're playing the third map in that best of 3 and it's like
at 4 a.m., man. Seriously. Holy shit.
Yeah, that's not ideal. That's definitely not ideal. Okay. So with the RMRs, do we want to touch on anything else? Like, because we can check in every couple of days on this shit. Like, it's not going to be.
Yeah, not really. I mean, we haven't seen that much so far. So still a lot of teams missing.
Well, let's jump into the action, which is kicking off tomorrow, which everybody's excited about. I'm really excited to see what setup Blast have. Blast, I always like the Blast setups. They're always so clean and it's well thought out. And it's like they have a visionary and a leader at their company who actually makes some decisions. So whoever's doing that over there at Blast, I always give fucking Blast props about that stuff because they have an idea and they execute it well. And I really like watching their stuff. Now the formats, that's where we've always been a little bit more prickly on the Blast side of things, haven't we? Now this one, I think we should probably explain for everybody. Lucas, I'm going to link you the brackets right here for the 4 groups, and we're going to talk this through just so everybody can understand what they're going to be witnessing for the first couple of days of play. Now it's been broken up into 3 groups. As we know, there are 12 teams in attendance. These are the partner teams. So if you're worried where like Cloud9 is or any of your other favorites like a Mounds or a Fnatic or anything like that, if you guys are into those type of teams, well, they're not able to play in the groups at all because this is the like franchise closed off partner team part of the Blast events. Now, as we can see here, it is broken up into those 3 groups, and the teams in the groups and matchups are like this: Vitality versus OG, NIP versus Astralis. That's Group A, and that's best of ones in that bracket. Where basically you're playing for seeding, right? In all of these groups, where you're playing for seeding for the next stage of the competition. Group B is Navi, Complexity, G2, and Liquid, and Group C is FaZe, EG, Heroic, and Big. Now, based off of where you place in your respective group, if you scroll down a little bit for us, Lucas, and expand where it says Stage 2/3 knockout stage, right here, you can see where you place in your group will determine where you are in the corresponding bracket. Now, it is important, as you can see, to come first in your group because you'll skip to round 3. Now, what does that mean? Well, you win that game and you're going to get yourself through to the fall finals. That's an important matchup to win right there, right? Now, this is where, when we said earlier in the show, and we were talking about NAVI, Prof, and we said, oh, it doesn't really matter, that opening stage. Like, if you're NAVI, you don't give a fuck if you come first or if you come fourth. well, you maybe you give a fuck a little
Oh,
bit.
you kind of give a fuck,
but you're probably confident that in some of these situations you can run the gauntlet back, right? If you're one of the best teams in the world. So that's the thing. The seeding obviously matters in that regard, but for these teams, there's a handful of teams on debut. Vitality, G2, maybe not as many, and EG. So 4 teams on debut. 2 teams matter, 2 teams don't. So
I mean, big.
Yeah, do we count that? Do we put like an
I mean,
asterisk
they
next to that?
didn't play with this lineup, at least you can say that. They haven't played with this lineup yet.
Yeah.
Like Keto always came in for somebody else, Faven or Crimbo. So
now look, we spoke about this at the start of the year. I don't know if either of you remember this, but I remember we spoke about this format because they used the same format for the first group, right? And this was the first event of the year, this group stage. And we spoke about it, and I remember voicing that it's not a great format, but where it's positioned, it is a great format.
Yeah.
Because we get to see more games against more opponents with newer lineups coming out of the break. So not only is it tune-up matches for teams who have maybe taken a little bit longer to get the engine started coming into the second half of the season, it's also an opportunity for us to see maybe in a deeper map pool because more matches will be played of the new rosters and where they're currently at and their potential on that runway to the major in the end of the year. So I think that in terms of Blast format like this, because of the positioning of the format, I think the format is good. Prof, what do you think?
I mean, I don't know if you mentioned that there's also like a last chance bracket, because I feel like we skipped that.
I did skip that, yeah.
Yeah, because there's also last chance brackets, so like the second and third place teams from that elimination bracket play for the second spot. So in total, 6 teams out of these 12 qualify for the thing, which I feel like it's super lenient overall.
Yes.
There's a lot of
partner
chances.
teams, so we know why.
Yeah, so we just want to make sure that the best teams go through, but in the end, it doesn't always happen. Like sometimes we have some upsets and weird teams qualifying first. If anything, it almost seems like more of a we'll see how it goes this time, but I feel like it's prone to happen because it's early in the season, and what happens is the FaZe and the NAVIs aren't going to be like, oh, we need to try hard for this group stage. They're going to be like, okay, we're starting practice like a couple of days earlier. So the first week is super not important. We get like 1 win at least or 2. So we're not last. So we don't have to win all of the games. Then we have like 2 best of 3s. We need to win 1. And then we go into the last chance if we don't win the other one. So like there are so many chances. And then they just like come up that way. Then some other teams like I think OG or Big, that happened the first season this year. They were informed because they are hungrier. They need to prove more. They get in early and they have the form advantage early on. So I feel like that's maybe tricky for Blast themselves, that they don't sometimes get the best teams, like they didn't get G2 at the finals last season. Because if you, this is super easy to get through, I feel like. But if you don't get through, yeah, but if you don't get through, then it's very hard actually to qualify, because the showdown is kind of ridiculously stacked,
kind of cut through.
Especially if they're going to split it like they did last time with NA and EU. I feel like that's going to be the case as well. So only one EU team can qualify.
On top of this,
qualify.
Yeah, I mean it's 8 teams at the final, and then 1 team from each of the 2 regions. So yeah, if that's what it is this time, but I'm not so sure.
The thing that I find real interesting about this is, and this was a couple of years ago, I was talking to a team. I won't give away the player's name or the team, but they didn't qualify. They didn't qualify for. They didn't qualify.
Whenever you say it.
KOALAfier.
I just hear KOALAfier.
Okay, go ahead.
They didn't. SPUNJ on ESEA servers lighting issues. Yeah, this is my brand new apartment. What was I saying? Oh, this player I was talking to, they had already qualified for the world finals at the end of the year, right? They had already locked themselves in for the world finals, and then they didn't make it through. They didn't make it through the groups, like the partner group section, but they still had to play the showdown, even though they didn't need to go to the fall finals to be in the world finals. But then they still they just wanted to play the world finals. They didn't want to play the other events, but because they are a partner team, they had to play all those extra events. So it is kind of bad if you are a partner team who's good and you don't qualify here because you have to have an extra event at the showdown. Cross fucking losing it, mate.
He just hears it everywhere, man. I think it's gonna take him a bit.
Can we use some other word? I can't.
Advance.
Progress.
Yeah,
progress
progress.
next
Yeah,
stage.
ensure a spot. Ensure a spot. Yes.
Me
There was
as
a good
a-
point in there. I was making a good point. That
Me
if
as
you're
a
a good
typical-
team, you want to qualify now,
I'm
so you
sure it
don't
was
have
a
to
great
play.
point.
I said qualify again, for fuck's sake.
All right, my 2 cents on this fucking format is if you can afford to lose more matches and then win, and still qualify,
advance.
then it's a bad format, right? And that's actually the case because you can lose
Sure.
both best of ones in the original group. You go fourth, you win 1 match there, and then lose the second match there. That's 1 in 3 matches that you won, and then 1 in 4 matches that you won. And then you can only win one best of 3 to qualify. So it's like, I can't.
I had to
Okay.
close chat. I can't. I can't do it anymore.
And so if that's what the format allows you to do, I think it's a shit format. No matter what stage it's being played in,
I
like you
guess
might
you're
as well
right.
just play normal round robin, and it's going to be better than this because it's still a shit format.
Yeah.
So like that's where I stand.
Objectively a bad format, but I like
Yeah.
it because I get to watch more Counter
Yeah,
Strike to help
competitively,
me.
it's a bad format
yeah.
for sure.
Also, what it proves is that like we are too smart and we're not the average CS viewer. What they accomplish with this format is like, fuck. Now people are sending it on Twitter. What they accomplish is they constantly have this effect of like, oh my god, they're gonna go out. Oh, now they're eliminated from this phase, and people just like, oh my god, no, phase lost, they're out.
Yeah.
Until the next phase, and then the extra last chance qualifier, and then when you have a round robin, you don't really get that. Even the average viewer understands that it's not that important, or they don't understand anything because it's so confusing. So in this way, they at least eliminated that part.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's where you need to be quite like tactful with how you come up with these formats, right? Whereas like ESL's round robin groups for the Pro League, that's the issue. It doesn't have the intensity, but Blast simulate that intensity by people not actually understanding by not understanding the format, right? So, but that's the thing. Blast will tell you, right? The death segment will tell you, the graphics will tell you. It's just that people a little bit slow to the uptake there, right? So, anyway, that's the format. Now, I suppose we should talk about the matches, right? Because we've spoken a lot about these teams. Maybe there's some interest here in storyline or potential matchups or something like that. So,
I don't think we need to like go super deep on the groups.
No, I don't think so either.
Just like kind of pick and choose what is interesting for me. If we start with Group A and just like see what kind of pops off the radar.
I like the honeymoon conversation you were having. So I think like in this kind of a group, a Vitality or an OG are the ones who I know they're playing each other, but I think those two are the ones who are going to, like in this event, not necessarily this group, are the ones who probably have the most to gain, right? Astralis are currently sitting as a top 5 team in the world right now. So like NIP, same situation. Like they would obviously like to win, but I think it means more for Vitality and OG. That is
true, but it's also where do you balance the freshness of the roster? I mean, we're gonna show up our fantasy teams in a bit. What I kind of valued is actually like the stability of teams versus teams that have 5 or 10 days of practice with a new player. Had to like redo stuff, which like Dexter talking to Striker over here, he spoke about like 9 days of practice or something and changing a lot of things compared to the stand-in period. So I'm like, okay, it's a decent team, but I don't know how that's going to work out, right? And especially for the fantasy, which I hope is both weeks. I think it is. These like best of 1 matches, you can't really judge too much on that. You need to really take like long term of the 2 weeks into consideration. So I don't know. I feel like NIP are kind of a safe pick overall. Compared to the new teams.
Okay. Well, I had a little peek at your fantasy. I'm sure that's going to factor in a little bit later. Striker, what's your biggest storyline of this group? If you just had to pick one, like what are you interested in this group in the opening matches to see?
I mean, it's got to be Spinx for sure. I think there's always going to be the biggest storyline in a group like this. OG, it's not like we haven't seen this team play. Obviously, with what Prof was saying, they are going to approach things differently. Apparently, I don't know how differently that will be, but I mean the actual new player that we will see is Spinx and Vitality, and I'm curious about where he will fit in and how promising this new Vitality will be, because we actually saw them, like, when we looked at this team at the Blast groups in spring, which was the first event, as you were saying, like, we actually thought Vitality was was kind of amazing, right? Like, everything was looking like it was working kind of as it was intended, right? And everything was great for that event alone, basically. So I'm curious about if we're going to see something like that again, kind of like a honeymoon period, and this time maybe if where among those players can we expect Spinx to be? Like, is he going to be the Spinx that we saw in ENCE? That's going to be, drop 1.20 ratings per tournament, or is he still going to fall somewhere below that before he kind of finds his place on the lineup? So that's where I am. My focus will be on Group A.
Yeah, if we get the Spinx that drops those type of numbers with an online Zywoo, that sounds bad, with Zywoo in form, right? Then that's sick. Like, that could be a really cool duo for that team. And that's the future of that team, because the other, well, actually, no, Magis isn't that old, but like Dupree and Apex are a little bit older. And Magis, we talked about in the past, could potentially be an in-game leader for them in the future, right? Because of the time at Astralis. So, yeah, I'm interested in the Spinx one too. Okay, moving towards.
You actually, just to touch on that, actually, you got to be curious about how much that played into the decision of Spinx going to Vitality, because because I talked to him about it in that interview, right? And we were saying how the reasons weren't necessarily super clear in terms of what he said. But if you look at this, like, he will be like, if Vitality will rebuild, it's always going to be around Zywoo and him, right? Assuming Spinx, delivers to the kind of a level that we expect him to, because he is the up and coming star here. He's not one of the old guys who's going to be kicked unless he really fucked up in this team and just like disappears, which I just don't see happening, right? So like there's going to be longevity here unless you fuck up. So I think that's a big reason as well.
I think probably the thing that's exactly what he didn't want to say, maybe, because also respect to the org that does a good job overall. You don't want to come and say like, yeah, Vitality has Zywoo, which is great, and that's like long term, but they also are Vitality, so they have more money and they can invest around me and Zywoo. So in the future, this can only be a better team than it is now. Which ENCE is not. They don't have the same scale. They're going to be, at least for now, kind of still a farm team, right? So it is what it is, and that's a thing that you don't want to say out of respect, right? Especially because they left. It seems like they left in good terms overall.
I mean, it is just a good career decision. I don't think there's any question around it. Obviously 6 months of results say something else at the moment, and skewed towards ENCE, but it just makes sense.
Yeah, no, I agree. All right, let's jump into Group B. We'll grab the key storylines here that we're looking for. Obviously, the NAVI one, I'm not expecting too much while Headtrick is playing, and that's not meant to be a dig at Headtrick. That's just simple's not.
It's not simple, yeah.
So just so people are like, yeah, no, but
kind
he's okay. It's like
kind of a difference there. There's
exactly.
Difference.
For me, it has to be. Well, actually, this is probably, in my opinion, the most interesting group, because Complexity with Halzerk, he played a couple of those matches for them already, and he's already an upgrade over Junior, which I think we were all expecting, right? But it's going to be curious to see how much they can get out of this team in the short term with an AWPer who can maybe bring some impact. Liquid, see how this is going with YEKINDAR now. They've had obviously a bit more time. I don't know how long they've been practicing out of the break. I think I saw one of them on social media putting something up when they were heading to their bootcamp facility. And G2, of course, with Hooksy and JKS, right? This has to be the big one. Like G2, if they can hit the ground running here, Prof, wow, I don't know. Do you think they need to start with good momentum? They started the first half of the year really good with Katowice.
I think you asked me the same question like 3 episodes ago or something.
Oh, but, okay, well, you can give it again.
So yeah, I mean,
no one watched that episode.
They're definitely the team to watch. I feel like overall, across the whole group stage, they're the most exciting team. I feel like Vitality are probably the team that made the biggest upgrade, but there's more to see from G2, right? There's like more moving parts. Even the Xtrfy interview, they said they're going to kind of unleash m0NESY a bit more. Wow. So that's also an aspect that's going to be interesting. Like, how is that going to develop with all these other moving factors? So from that perspective, like G2, yes, I don't know about the group overall. I mean, when you take out NAVI, which is expected at the moment, at least for the first games, that really kills a lot of the excitement. But at the same time, like, who is who's going to do what on the team. It's pretty exciting. Am I lagging, or is it?
Yeah, just a little bit. Your
audio
audio's okay. It just like kind of a little bit robot. It's mainly the video right now, but we got the majority of what you were saying.
That's it for me. Is Electronic gonna go like God mode, or Bit who's gonna step up to fill the void?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. We were talking about it earlier about the potential of Simple returning later in the tournament, right? Because it's about a week and a half worth of a tournament, right? It's not just over in a couple of days. So yeah, that'll be curious. Striker, same kind of sentiment here.
Yeah, to add some context to that, Xta's remark about Monacy, he said they held him back so far. Like up until now, they've held him back too much, which almost feels ridiculous.
It does, doesn't it?
But I guess we'll see what that means, right? I did feel like, especially because Xtaz is such a reasonable person in terms of what he's gonna say. Like he's not like everything, even if it's somewhat outrageous what he says, it's always like it makes perfect sense. Like if you think about it on merit, right? Like it's just a super reasonable thing to say or to expect or whatever. And so like if in that aspect, I'm almost curious about what he means in terms of Monacy and how different this team is going to be playstyle wise compared to what we saw with G2, which was a little bit all over the place for a while. So I just don't know what to expect. You know, that's kind of where I'm sitting at the moment. We have an idea of where the roles will fit, but we don't really know if that will work, you know. So that's what I'm most excited about in terms of I mean, this group in general, of course. Like that, as you were saying, no Simple is a big bummer. Complexity, is it really that exciting? Like, I mean, we were talking about how it's an upgrade, but we're still not expecting them to be some team that's going to compete on the tier 1 level.
No, you're right.
And then
it's not exciting for like top 10 Counter-Strike. It's exciting kind of for North American Counter-Strike, right?
Like in terms of like the problem is that this group should be interesting, but it's not because of the format. You know, it's like, okay, so Liquid and G2 maybe are going to come out on top, even though they're the two teams that are meeting in the first round, you know, but who cares at the same time? Like if Navi is third, they're still going to have a hell of a chance to go through to the fall final. So it doesn't really matter if they fuck up if they just beat Complexity and then, you know, lose to whoever loses between G2 and Liquid, which I'm assuming is what's going to happen. So that's just where I'm sitting with this group in general, with storylines around what the groups even mean. They don't really mean anything, you know.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. And moving on to Group C, the final group here at the Blast, we got FaZe, EG, and Heroic versus Big. Look, this EG thing, none of us. It kind of even got a bit more of a dampener on it because Rush is standing in for Automatic, right? Who's unable to make it. So that's almost a bit of a write-off there. I don't know. For me, it's more about Big and Heroic. FaZe are always going to get theirs, right? Like FaZe are always going to eat. I'm more interested to see like Big, what is this change going to look like now with Keto in the starting roster alongside of Faven and Crimbo? And then Heroic, well, kind of this Yabby hype got cut short in Cologne. And now's a chance for them to come back. And you know that Cadian and his squad are going to be grinding pretty hard for this. So that's about the FaZe EG, more about the Heroic Big. And then once we get into the meat and potatoes of the tournament, then I guess we can really see where everybody's standing. But this is just a bit like an appetizer, right? Just to kind of get the palate going, get everybody excited for the main course of Blast, which will be coming up next week. So yeah, look, all in all, it's great to have the CS back. It's a nice soft entry, right? It's nothing too harsh. Everybody can kind of use the weekend to get back into watching and watch some of the big names. And as Striker mentioned, you know, have that artificial excitement that's been built by this format. But yeah, for me, it's more about seeing what Blast present, because I really like if they have something in a studio that was like when I was working for them, where it's like me, Duncan, and Effia did a desk. I think we was in that studio where they could sit across from each other and they had the frosted glass and stuff. And that gave some really unique moments. I remember Fer getting the fist bump and the water goes everywhere with the water bottle in his hand and the players standing up and yelling at each other. That's really fun, right? It's a bit better than the
they actually didn't have the
do.
groups on LAN last time. This was
start of the year.
Did they not?
I don't know.
I think they may not have. Yeah,
I think they were canceled last minute.
Yeah, I think they didn't. They
did all these things.
Yeah.
So we didn't see that yet. Essentially, we only saw the first like 2020 groups, but that was also kind of a different format. So going to be interesting how it turns out this time around. But yeah, it's definitely, I think, even if the games aren't that exciting, I feel like Blast is the perfect thing to like put on your TV and just let it go. It really feels like a sports broadcast like you put on like BBC Sports or something, and
Yeah, it's
just
polished, it's clean, the content's played in the right
yeah,
times.
just like everything's something's happening the whole time, even if it's downtime. It doesn't feel like downtime, so it's very enjoyable to put on and like walk around the house, cook, watch a game, listen to, you know, Maniac, use some like French expression, and be like very emotional about things. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's good. Blast get all their broadcasters and put them in the same place, so that's a positive there as well. So yeah, all in all, that's the tournament that we're going to expect. And somebody asked in chat when it begins. Now this is CEST, the time I'm about to give you. The first match tomorrow on the 19th of August 2022 is going to be Vitality taking on OG at 1 p.m. So you don't want to miss that one there. You can find all the action if you head over to HLTV, or you can check out Blast. I think they've got some new platforms that they're trying to push with that. Like they've got like that Wordle Counter-Strike thing, and they've got some other stuff on their site that you can partake in. But now we're just going to talk about the fantasy teams, because Prof, I'll give you this one here. There's a bit of a celebrity fantasy league.
Yeah, I don't know if that term is kind of upsetting to me.
I don't like the term.
I actually came up with it, I think, and then I'm like, who did this? Oh, it was me. Well, it's amazing then. Essentially, what we did, it's not a league. That's maybe the distinction that's important. It's just a leaderboard. So essentially,
okay,
we play the same season that everyone plays, the official season for fantasy.
Okay.
It's just a separate leaderboard where you can only see these people that we manually add to the list. For now, we have like over 10 people, which includes like the two of us. We have like Get Right, Flom, for example, but we also have like Maniac, Dinko's in there, Stana, I don't know, a bunch of people, Bleh, Maui. So essentially, and it might expand as well. Like I put out the tweet, but only actually like random people replied to it. So if anyone's watching, that is like either talent or
like a Halvor or something like that. Yeah,
relevant players, not like someone that has an HLTV profile that played like one game. Like, oh, I'm a player. I mean, you are a player technically, but yeah, someone's relevant. DM me, and that's it. I know like some of the people that are really active in the fantasy community reached out, but that doesn't feel appropriate. Yeah, right. These people are too good for us. You're just like casually playing here and you're tryharding. So yeah, I think it will kind of offset the thing.
Now, just quickly with the fantasy, if anybody wants to find it and maybe play themselves, maybe they haven't played before, you guys have a full like season going. There's prizes. You head over to hltv.org/fantasy and you can register and play with your friends. You can create private leagues. You can do different types of, you can do like a snake one, or you can do the one that we're playing in. Now we can bring the ones that Prof and I have picked here for the fantasy up. Lucas should have the links available, or maybe he took a screenshot or two. But with this, the thing that I want to, as I continue to have ants in my pants and move around, is ask Prof, did you say this first couple of days is going to be its own fantasy, and then next week's going to be another fantasy?
I'm pretty sure it's one.
Okay, because I was going to say my picks are for the whole thing, because otherwise I have to fucking go and change this shit.
Yeah, it says groups, so okay. I think it should be for everything.
But this should be a bit of fun. I like this. This is something that I wanted to do as a bit of fun content at events anyway. Is like, but I would like to do in the future like a live draft where we have a set amount of people, the same amount of teams, because I think that you talk through every player then. Actually, a content suggestion I've thrown out there to ESL to contact you guys about, but I don't think it will ever happen.
Imagine actually working together in the CS sphere.
Wouldn't that be insane?
I mean, I'm joking. ESL did, and Blast also helped us with the show and that's PGL. True. So there is a part of it, but that is also very simple. Doesn't really require a lot of moving parts back and forth. It's just like, here's a room. We're like, okay, thanks.
Well, they did print that massive banner for us ESL when we did one in Canada. So that was nice. That was nice. But just quickly, I just want to get this out there because I give away ideas for free to all these tiers anyway. This is what I suggested. I suggested that instead of doing like the same mundane, boring desk segments that we always do, what we do is like a segment where we have like a whole bunch of the broadcasters together. Let's say for a group of Pro League, I wonder if this is a real idea, has 6 teams, right? You have 6 members of the broadcast and you do a snake ladder live and you talk through literally every single player. Obviously, you keep it quick. It's kind of banter filled. Like Yanko gets fucking, I don't know, a player that he always talks shit about. And that's funny, you know, like that. It could be fun, right? And, you know, you're using this, you have the system, everybody has it on their phone or on a tablet or something. And you have to talk through literally every team and every player. And that means you would touch on everything in the group and you would actually cover the stuff you do in a desk segment more organically and in an entertaining vehicle where people might get to show their personality and have a bit of fucking fun. But maybe that'll happen in the year 2042. So
this is my lineup.
This is your lineup. Looks good. Hampus, Brolin, Hooksy, Rops, and Twist. So I think you're a Hooksy fan, huh?
Obviously, he's super cheap. So let's not talk about him for
How cheap is he?
He's
like
like
168 or something.
160,000 ish. So that's like very, very cheap for fantasy. Overall, for people that don't know, it's a $1 million budget, and players are like, if you're a average player, it's 200,000, right? And then the better you are, it goes up, and the worse you are, it goes down. It's based on rating and also based on team ranking. So there's a combination of these factors that dictate the price, which is the same for everyone, and you just pick it before you go into the before the event starts. And you can't change players, but you can change the boosters that you add. And there are also roles that add like bonus points depending on which role you pick and how they perform. So I essentially went. I was looking back and forth, and then when I saw that FaZe start against EG, I had to go. Even though it's just like a best of one, I am convinced that there's like a lot of points to be gained there, and that's like a very safe way to gain points. And so I'm like, fuck it, I can't. I was thinking of skipping FaZe because of, you know, slow starts. They probably are not going to be super exciting. But then I saw they play against EG, so that counteracted what I was trying to go for. And Robs and Twists both are kind of okay price wise, like 215, which is, I feel like, very reasonable for their caliber, especially if they're going to play the best of threes and everything later. That's why I went for double them. And then out of the rest of the team, I feel like NIP is the most stable one. So I looked there. I felt like Hampus was kind of also underrated in terms of the price. And then Brolin came in, and then Cooks is just there because I can finish up the roster. And I also feel like
feels
if
undervalued,
if the team is going to be any good, he's probably going to have like inflated rating compared to before. This might not be true. He could also suck a lot more because he's going to be entering. But I'm kind of hoping for like some magic to happen there. I also put the support role on him because even if he dies, he's going to be traded. So you're going to get like KST, which works towards the support role. And then the rest of the roles: headshot for Twist, defender, CT side for Ops, entry Brolin, and IGL for Campus. That's it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's Prof's team. Now my team, which is not as well thought out.
Rate these against each other? Or?
Well, you can be the deciding factor here. Now, look, it's probably no surprise that I picked JKS alongside of JKS is the new father now to Monacy. So I thought I would keep the father-son combination together here. Now, we know JKS is an anchor player, so I'm putting him in the defender position, and I'm putting Monacy on the main AWP role because, you know, he's going to have that AWP in his hands more often than not. So he's going to be getting those numbers there. But it's not an easy group, so that's where it's a risk to pick the G2 players in this fashion. I picked Spinx and Apex. The Spinx one is very risky because it's unlikely that he's going to have the same numbers as he normally would, but I feel like he will be the second star of the team. So like a second star of the team should still be able to, you know, convert some decent numbers for the squad. And I put him in the multi-fragger role, which is one of Spinx's specialties. That's what when we joke in the cast, it's like, oh, Spinx has got another quiet 30. Well, it's because he's always getting a 2K or, you know, something like that, right? It's not just, and then Apex, I think Apex is obviously volatile, and it's going to be difficult for him with this new roster, but he was kind of like my Hooksy, right? Like he's cheap enough, and I think that if the team wins, that I can get residual points out of him that way. And Apex is known to have a game where he does, you know, he drops like a 25. He has a nuke yard match where he spams people through smokes and all that kind of shit. And then I put Crimbo in the mix, and I put him in the supportive role because I'm not certain who we're going to see maybe take more of Tizian's kind of positions and roles, but part of me kind of thinks it is going to be Crimbo. And I think Crimbo is a pretty decent asset for Big. I think he's pretty good. So it's a bit of a risky one, Crimbo, but I like what I've seen so far. So that's my team. And the team name Exposure was the first Counter-Strike team I made at a LAN cafe.
There we go. I like how we have like diametrically
very different ideas.
Yeah, teams.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting that you picked. Well, I wanted to say 5 different teams because JKS just threw me off there. But
he's in complexity still,
and Spinx as well. Yeah, it's actually 3 teams.
What? Sorry.
Yeah, he's in.
Yeah, exactly. Like it just completely threw me off. It's like Prof has this like 2 players and 2 players, and then in a game later, well, actually, Chad has kind of a similar idea, at least in that aspect. But yeah, it's a. I feel like there's a much more volatility potential in the Hooksy angle from Prof. I think there's that could just go anywhere. So I almost feel like in terms of piece for like on average, I feel like Chad has a better team, but I think Profs has like a bigger peak. So it's kind of it's more like where those volatile pieces will go. I think it was where it's going to be decided.
I mean,
almost.
usually I hate going for these kind of like IGL low, like super cheap players. I also didn't have a lot of time to put it all together.
Yeah, you can still change it overnight.
That is true. It would be kind of a fraud towards our viewers, though.
No, but like then in the next episode, you could say you adjusted it, right? Like whatever. Like this is the team you started on. Now, this is the thing. I'm probably going to go look at some of the because Dimitri, our social gentleman, who is our occasional producer when Lucas decides that he's too busy being a party animal, he asked if we could come up with these. So I kind of just threw it together quite quickly. I didn't really take into consideration too much with the groups and stuff, and obviously I did the bias pick with Justin and shit. But it's a hard one. At the start of the season, it's always difficult because everybody's a bit rustier. It's a bit more volatile. So there's always that to keep in mind. But you could chop and change it if you want, Prof.
I'll actually pick
change his team.
I'll actually pick Profs though, because I think it's just the peak potential is much bigger. I think Chad has more like really solid pieces that could all do okay, but I think in terms of like big fucking delivering numbers, it could be like Prof could have like 3 different players, in that aspect. So you don't have like a Spinx, I guess, is the biggest one for you, but then again, like we don't really know where he's gonna fall. And Monacia has been kind of volatile, so that's the same thing. And then JKS could be okay, but he could end up in like this 1 point
in a long time.
Yeah, I'm going honeymoon.
He could end up in like the 1.05
period
whatever
team here. Yeah. That's what I should have called my team.
That actually is
your
honeymoon is a pretty honeymoon period.
And
too,
I'm like 3rd year anniversary.
Yeah. And spicing it up a little bit, like you've brought you've brought a. I was trying to think of
what did you bring in, Chad?
I don't know if my parents are back from dinner with my girlfriend yet or not, so I won't I won't say what I was going to say.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's that. That's the show. Do we want to talk about anything else?
Did we have any questions? You asked for questions.
Yeah, but most people just said talk about device.
Yeah, and then we talked, and then they shut on us.
They were like, "That was shit."
Great talk.
Come on, guys.
There's this question: Rio Major in soccer stadium? ? I'm pretty sure this is not going to happen. Do you?
No, I don't think it's going to move.
I mean, by the way, the reason behind that, just so people know, like you can't just decide after you've booked the venue and just like have all the tickets and stuff. Like you can suddenly decide to change everything to a different venue that is also one of the biggest fucking venues available. Like anywhere basically. Like
venue,
that's just not reasonable.
Venue bookings are actually like super complicated and a long-term planning thing, and it really depends on a lot of things. Actually, I was talking to someone who gave me some insight about this, which is interesting, and some things that I didn't know about like NA and booking in these time frames, which is like April and November, or April, May, and November, which are like both very busy for like different sports in NA in the US, which are like, I don't know, hockey arenas, for example, would be appropriate, but they're booked at that time because it's hockey season. And same with like basketball or something. So it's a very difficult thing to actually find
to get a major in NA, basically.
Yeah, to find a proper venue, which is kind of an interesting angle that don't really think about, because also don't really care about NA sports in general. So yeah, things like this, expecting to change from a one venue to a football stadium. You think like you can just book a football stadium like that in like a couple of months. That is very difficult to
and also
do.
And also leave the other one hanging. That's not that easy.
Yeah. You're probably going to pay a lot of penalties for that.
I think something to keep in mind, and I actually don't have any inside info on this. I haven't spoken to anybody from ESL about like the upcoming major or what they're going to do or anything. But if you guys remember, it goes under the radar. But you guys remember Katowice, the last major they ran? There were spectators available for different stages of the tournament, just not the playoffs. Remember they had that stage that rotated around to like get the players out quicker. I think they would use Katowice as their base layer. So the good things they did in Katowice and then build on top. Like I would be expecting as a Counter-Strike fan going into Rio, if possible, if they can do it in Rio, that they would have like the legend stage, or maybe even as much as the challenger stage, like all stages with some form of an audience. I'm not saying thousands upon thousands of people, but maybe 500 people, or maybe 1,000 people, or maybe even just a couple of hundred. But that could be cool.
Imagine how much those like tickets that are guaranteed to see your Imperial play would fucking sell out instantly. Because let's be real, aside from Furia, we don't expect anyone to get to the playoffs from Brazilian teams in Rio. So that would be a great way to also, like, I don't want to say maybe fan service, but actually service the fans and give them what they want. Which is interesting. Like, I even heard things along those lines that's like an option for because that's the only way they can actually satisfy the crowd to give them more tickets, is to actually allow people to come in for other games, not only for the playoffs. Which I generally liked as an idea, as one of the things that I was pushing for like a couple of years.
For a major.
That's a big thing that we missed at a major, to have an audience for the whole thing, or at least for the legend stage, consistently.
Berlin did it, but there wasn't many people there, remember? And it wasn't very conducive to a watching. Like, it wasn't set up for spectators.
All the teams, it was like a two lines,
Yeah.
True.
Okay. There was one thing here that somebody jotted down. His name is Zach Frederick, and Zach said, automatic callouts when you throw a grenade, your character says flashbang. I'd love a toggleable but default call out when you die, sniper A long or rifle car, or using consensus callouts. Look, that's like a quality of life update that you'd expect in like Valorant or something. Maybe not a terrible suggestion, but I don't think it'd get used. Definitely not by Green. So Zach, I like the way you're thinking, mate, but I don't know if it's something that we would see. Other than that, what else we got here?
There's a question about the RMR locations. Is everything going to be in the same spot? And we don't know necessarily. Obviously, it hasn't been announced yet, and that is a very important piece of information, especially for the America side. If it is going to be an NA, that is like a visa nightmare, and things are happening pretty quickly. So this is important for ESL to handle properly, I feel like.
Especially with team, with like, that's the thing. If they do European RMR in America, you have a hard time getting some of the Russian players.
That is true, but I don't think that's not going to happen. But
you
like,
let's just European RMR in America?
Maybe just split the locations.
Oh yeah, look, this is what I think. Again, I don't know. I'm talking out of my ass here. But ESL, out of all the companies, is the most global, right? They have offices all over the world. They have an Australian office, whether they're fully part of the company or they're a franchise, I don't fucking know. But they have ESL Australia. And also EFG. We keep saying ESL, but realistically, the companies merged now with ESL FaZe Group. So the resources of both. FaZe, were they the ones that owned the studio in LA for
like a Burbank something? No.
Yeah. Well, if they own that for Flashpoint, then ESL could potentially use that studio in North America for the South Americans and the North Americans for the Americas RMR potentially. If you have an Australian/Asian office for ESL as well, then you would think if there's an event which coincides, they would be able to run something more locally as opposed to flying everybody one location. And then in Europe, that's home turf for ESL, right? So they shouldn't have any issues running it at either like Katowice, where they have a big office. They have an office in Cologne. It's straight after. Look, I would speculate Pro League, Malta. That it would make sense. They already are going to have Pro League ends and the RMR starts. So that would make sense to just keep it in Malta. It would probably be different locations.
I also think, with the time slot that it was put in, which is all in the same week, the 4th to 9th of September, there's like, how the fuck do you run the same?
We did it before,
all those not in the same place.
Not in the same location, you're right.
That's what I'm saying. Like, one time zone, that's impossible to run. Like, you can't, that's just not. So like, I feel like it has to be the same as we did Road to Rio 2 years ago, when there was the first RMR rounds, which was basically like 24/7 Counter-Strike, because you went from NA to Europe to Asia. And this was just like, something was running at all times. So for a week, and obviously that's the only way you can fit in that many matches over just a week. So that's, I feel like that's just a fairly obvious thing, that it's just going to be in 3 different locations.
I think the issue here is, and this is what I kind of felt from the Brazilian side, imagine if it was, for example, in LA and you need visas to get to NA. That means for sure some players aren't going to get them. And some of the players from Brazil coming to play the America's Minor for the major that's going to be in Brazil. So if some Brazilian teams get fucked and they can't actually play, or they lose some of their key players, so then they don't qualify for the major, I feel like that's going to be a super massive shit show. And I hope that does not happen. And that would be one of the, kind of talk shit about like Brazil being Brazilians in general, some of them, not all of them, being upset, unfair, like for stupid things. But this would be a reason this would be like a legit reason to be upset if they can't even qualify for the major that is in their country, right?
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. That makes sense. But yeah, let's hope that doesn't happen. We've run events in Brazil before, right? Like with ESO. ESO ran a pro league season down there, and there was an ESO office down there. I was physically in it. We were running the group stage from it. So yeah, maybe that's the play. Try and do it in South America as opposed to do it. I don't know. Anyway, we got any other questions?
A lot easier for Americans to go down there than the other way, at least.
True. All right, we got anything else we want to talk about here, or we think we're good?
Yeah,
we're good. I think we're good.
Would be pretty funny if like the Australian qualifiers was just called KOALAfiers.
There you go. Well, maybe we can work on that for you, Prof. Maybe we can work on that. I know that one tickled your fancy right there, so maybe we can work on that.
A little PSA for me. I'm having Hooksy and JKS tomorrow for interviews for interviews, both of them. So that's the plan for tomorrow. I actually have an automatic interview, which could come as a surprise considering he's not playing the first part of the stage, first part of Blast. He actually was here, but he's going back to NA tomorrow for something personal, and then he's coming back for the second part of the stage to play because they were in Europe for a boot camp. So he just traveled to Copenhagen with the rest of the team, but he's leaving for like a week and then coming back to play out the rest of the Blast and then have some practice after that, and then go to NA again because of RBars and shit like that. So because of the qualifiers for the RBar. So shit used for automatic, I suppose, but that's how it goes for an NA player, I guess sometimes.
That sucks, man. That sucks. Long haul flights. I haven't done one in 3 years. I'm not looking to do one anytime soon. Yeah, that's rough. Okay, well, we'll keep an eye on what Strike is bringing us from Blast. Remember, 1 p.m. CEST tomorrow. Can check out all the good stuff, the brackets, everything at HLTV.org. You guys know where to go. 1 p.m. Counter-Strike's back. And next week, maybe we bring you an episode where we're doing something around the RMRs. I guess, Strike, you're going to be there the whole time at Blast, however. So maybe that might be a little bit more difficult for you because there's definitely going to be overlaps, right? Is there overlaps between the RMRs and Blast?
I think there is some.
There must be.
Okay. Well, this has been a Koality podcast. That was quality. Anyway.
Good one.
And did we have fun tonight, guys?
Yeah, it was good.
All right. I hope everybody at home watching had fun. You had a good giggle. Quick shout out again to our sponsors. That's going to be Xtrfy, Bitskins, and of course, M1Bet. Gamble responsibly. And I thank all of our lovely viewers for tuning in. Next time round, maybe we can get a guest. We were a little bit unfortunate with the timing of when we could do the show and how we were going to be able to get a guest on in. And I know that I said that we would try and get Forrest on the show. We would like to get Forrest on the show.
Maybe you should all just spam Forrest to come on the show.
Yeah, when he's streaming, maybe don't just say, "Hey, Forrest, would you like to go on HLTV Confirmed and with the boys?"
We'd really like to see you there. It would be nice.
You can have this spot, Forrest. Look,
there you go.
Nice car. You can be here. Talk.
Okay. It's got 4 walls. And your head's in there normally. So maybe we can get Forrest. It'd be great. But we'll keep on trucking along, and we'll see everybody next time. Thanks again for watching, and good night.
Add some fun to your space with Xtrfy, designed in Sweden with focus on quality products built on experience. You're looking at Project 4, their 4th generation of products with super cool colorways to stand out, with matching sets to satisfy with a solid B4 bungee, lightweight ergonomic M4 mouse, the K4 keyboard is fantastic, all of which are performance focused, and finish it off with colorful GP4 mouse mats that are bold in design and smooth on the surface. The retro theme in particular has got the feels. Complete your setup with Xtrfy. No regrets, guaranteed.
Stuck ranking up? Lost the motivation to grind? Bored of clicking heads on aim maps? Get some color into your game. Bitskins.com. Buying and selling skins made easy. Tons of payment methods and instant cash outs. Just choose your dream skins, select your preferred payment method, and start grinding again. If you want to play like the pros, you gotta look like the pros.